Okay, so I just started the recording and okay, we're almost at 10 minutes. I'm going to start the meeting here and then people joining us they might because we always have a lot of people joining us around 10 minutes after. So I think we've trained them to say, "Oh, you don't have to be on time." So we'll try to get better on that. So at any rate, ding. I'm Bill Graham. I'm the president of the Dare to Be Great Rotary Global eClub, and I declare this meeting on 28th June 2025 to be open. This past week and a half, I've been in Calgary, Canada at the Rotary 2025 convention. We had around 14,000 attendees, which means it was a somewhat smaller convention than most of the recent ones. But next year's Taipei, and I expect that's going to be another monster one, expecting somewhere around 25,000 attendees. And but It was a very, very interesting meeting. I met the aides to the current, the or the incoming president, the incoming president-elect. I actually met with the current incoming president and several other people, although briefly. And I had a hallway chat with John Huco talking a little bit about where, with our whole Dare to Be Great concept, and the idea that we could have a major impact and influence, not only on the impact of Rotary across the board, across the world, but on membership as well. And this goes back to just very briefly mention sort of the star project that we're hoping to be able to kick off during the next Rotary year, which would be the largest literacy project the world has ever seen, and probably reduce illiteracy to a level not seen since before World War II, before the founding of the United Nations. And that is we're hoping we can get the Secretary General to issue a global appeal to all people in the world to get all children who are in school currently to participate, to demonstrate their resolve to overcome the education losses due to COVID by participating in the world's largest readathon, asking all students to read 40 minutes a day for 1 month, either read or participate in learning to read. The target would be 500 million students. That sounds a lot, but what we're hoping is that we'll be able to get the 150 ministries of education that are working with UNESCO to echo the Secretary General's appeal to their schools or mandate it. We've heard some countries would simply mandate all students have to participate in the readathon, with the goal of getting 500 million students, roughly 50% of the world's student population, participating in the readathon. And the idea is that Rotary and Lions clubs around the world, roughly between 90 and 100,000 Rotary and Lions clubs, that they would be the heroes on the ground, be the champions on the ground. So we've got the mass media talking about what the Secretary General called for and what the ministers of education called for in their respective countries. Uh, and then we also hope to get the International Federation of Teachers Associations so that we can get all teachers who are always looking for some excuse to be able to excite their students about reading to participate. But those local Rotary and Lions clubs on the ground, we provide them with kits, communication templates to go to their mayors, their principals, their media, local media, to say, hey, this is going on. We're here. We're supporting. Let's rally behind our kids and encourage uh, pep rallies in the community and encourage local businesses and individuals in the community to incentivize their own children, their own students in their schools to participate by pledging a small donation amount for every hour a student, a local student to them, reads. Might be the hours read within a classroom, or maybe within the entire school, a particular local school. Um, and the hope is, or well, not necessarily the hope, but should we be able to raise just 20 cents per hour read, that by 500 million children reading 20 hours, that's 40 minutes a day for 1 month, 20 hours, that would be 10 billion hours read with a B. And if we raise just 20 cents per hour read around the world, on average, that would be $2 billion. That's more than 4 times as much as the Rotary Foundation has ever raised in a single year. And that money could be earmarked for reducing the number of children in the world who are not in school due to poverty or hunger by more than 10 million in just 1 year. And if we continued this each year, made this an annual thing, there's a projection that shows by 2032, roughly, that potentially we would be able to make it so that there would not be a single child in the world that's not able to attend school due to poverty. That's reducing it from, I don't know, somewhere around 74, 80 million kids right now out of school due to hunger or poverty, and being able to reduce that to zero. And of course, the reading that they're doing is accomplishing a lot. Now, as I was talking to people, a lot of people said, "Wow, what a great way to improve literacy, improve reading." Great idea. We'll improve reading everywhere. And others said, "Oh, what a great idea for fundraising. We'll raise a lot of money, $2 billion maybe." And keep in mind, that's 20 cents. What if we raise 50 cents? That'd be 500, or that would be $5 billion raised. So some people said that. But actually, here, when we first began talking about this, well, it really got big in 2019 because it was supposed to be kicked off as part of the celebrations of the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. So the idea was this would be a tool to get people to say, hey, we can make a difference, because the Secretary General was so concerned that people and countries around the world were turning their backs on the idea of international cooperation. So initially, it wasn't about demonstrating resolve to overcome the education losses due to COVID, because COVID had not yet started. It was intended to have students demonstrate their support for the idea of the United Nations and international cooperation and multilateralism. But so the idea was kick it off in the beginning of 2020. But along came a little bug called COVID. And so those plans all went by the wayside at that stage. Uh, we had already had all of our press announcements that we were anticipating for the entire year here, all lined up, showing how we would do this. But anyway, the idea was it's the reading part was, hey, that's a great bonus. The fundraising part and reducing the number of children not in school, that's a great bonus. But the real idea was to get the United Nations in the month following the readathon to declare an international Honor the Readers Day. And on that date, communities around the world, Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, and others would organize honor ceremonies to honor all of the students who participated in the readathon as global citizen heroes, because the hours that they read led to the raising of the money that so dramatically changed the lives of millions of the world's poorest children. And to do that in a way that would make them so proud. Maybe they get a t-shirt that says, I'm a global citizen hero. So that they would be uh, jumping up and down. Wow, what can we do next? What can we do next? And that was the whole idea. How do we mobilize hundreds of millions, because it's not just the kids at that point, it becomes their parents too, that are all excited that we would be able to mobilize a number of people that the world's never seen. Anyway, that was the idea, and the it got a tremendously positive response from everybody that I talked to there. So anyway, the I just wanted to say a little bit about the convention. Now, the thought was, gee, it would have been nice. I could have had today a lineup of speakers from the convention who would be able to describe their impressions and what they thought of the convention and where they thought this could help take us. But given here that yesterday was my first day back, it's just too tight. And a lot of the people here are not even home yet. They're still traveling because it was located right next to Banff. And so a lot of people added a couple of days to go visit Banffin. So we're hearing from people still that'll be coming back over the next few days. So my thought was here either next week or the week after. I want to try to then schedule a meeting that will be devoted to reporting on the results of the convention. But we do have a number of people here that were at the convention. Judy Ellen was one of them, and Judy Ellen's actually the inspiration for one of the topics we're going to be talking about today, because we had a little chat while we were getting ready to go into our presentation on artificial intelligence. Yes, Stuart.
Bill, I'm wondering if artificial intelligence was highlighted in any way. Remember, John Hugo did a year ago at
Yeah.
Singapore.
Yeah.
Can you give a summary of that?
Yes, it was the we had seating capacity on our workshop. We did a workshop on artificial intelligence, or a breakout session. The capacity of the room was 750, I understand, and there were still a long line of people wanting to get in that never made it into the room because it was full. And it so we had a really great response there, and that was on Monday. And on the rest of the day, every one of the days, somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, wow, this was so great." And then on Tuesday, we had an online follow-up session that went into more how-to, hands-on how-to examples that one of our fellowship board members gave. And I understand the response to that was tremendous. I was not able to attend that one myself because I was on the train at that time. But we'll get the video of that here shortly, and then we'll make sure it's available to everybody. So, and then there was from another group, they also had a breakout session on AI. It was listed as ChatGPT, but it really was very broad and actually very good. And I had a chance to talk to the panel that was involved in that presentation. And we're going to follow up because I think that was not so much that it was any kind of a fellowship or a Rotary Action Group that organized that, but rather there was a couple of individuals that said, "Hey, we should do this," and they got some other individuals, and they, as I say, they gave a really great presentation there. So we'll look to follow up and collaborate more on that. Judy Ellen, yes.
Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to add that they did send out everybody the link to the Artificial Intelligence Rotary Fellowship.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of really interesting information. They're looking for more people. And I think it would be fantastic to collaborate with them. I can send the link in the chat if anybody's interested.
Well, we are the fellowship. So myself and Nijad on the call, we are both on the board there of the fellowship. Nijad, do you want to just say a couple of words about the fellowship in general?
First of all, good afternoon or good evening or good morning, wherever you are. I'm very glad to be here with you. Of course, I mean, as AI fellowship, and you know how much we had to work on it because we were going to have a group, of friendship or something, but it was very difficult, and I mean, we had the suggestion from Tom Gum, that after his consultant was with other people from the Rotary management, that it's better to go to a fellowship. And of course, our President Naveen Abdel Khaliq, past president from Rotary Club of Tahrir in Egypt, and of course with Bill and the other nice group. I mean, we had the first meetings and we started the AI fellowship, and here we are. And of course, I mean, unfortunately, I couldn't go to Calgary, I mean, to Canada to attend the convention because first of the distance and second for a different schedule. But of course, I heard a lot of good news, and we had all the update from all the team members with the WhatsApp, easy. And here we are. I mean, we are looking forward to have a really, really great and successful fellowship group in the future. I think we have built now more than 300 or
Yeah, it's really growing very fast.
very fast,
So we will probably
Um,
be, I would estimate before the end of the year, we'll be well over 1,000 members.
I hope, inshallah. Judy, are you joining us or you joined us already or I don't know?
I have joined, and I'm still in Calgary for another day.
So there's our example here of people
Yeah.
that were able
Yeah.
to tack on a
And
couple of extra days.
Yeah. Huma, I think you're from Pakistan?
You're muted, Huma. Still. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Hi,
Yes,
Huma.
Pakistan. Hi.
We are very near to each other. I'm from Bahrain, you know?
Okay, okay. That's cool. Good to know that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Nice
Okay.
to have you. Thank
Yes.
you.
So
hopefully.
yeah. So any rate here, I want to. Stuart's going to have to leave us here fairly shortly, and I want to make sure that we cover a few of the actual points. I just wanted to mention that about the convention because it really was great. There was a lot of great information. I'm really looking forward. We had one of the general sessions. We had one of the key people from the Sesame Workshop, Sesame Street, present there. And the idea, in the last couple of meetings that we had, we talked about using AI to close the preparation gap for preschool for kids between ages 1 and 5 before they start school. We know that in some countries there's up to a 4 year gap between people that have gone to preschools and are all up to date and ready to succeed in schools, and kids who have not had that opportunity, who maybe are growing up in a family that doesn't speak the language that the school system uses and so forth. And so the thought crossed my mind, we're going to try to get in touch with them and see if they're not already planning to make Sesame Street interactive, where you can actually talk to Ernie and he'll talk back to you. That we're going to see if we can't initiate a project in that direction. Huma, you had your hand up.
Yeah, yes. I have a point. Like before our discussion, you were discussing this reading thing, readathon.
Yes.
That is the idea, this readathon. And we have the World Book Day. Already we have worldwide. That is, I have mentioned 24th, 25th April. The thing is, this readathon will help us not only the reading and funding, but at the same time, when at the time of this artificial intelligence and chat GPT, when children are going away from reading habits, this could be a remarkable step, a big step, I think. And it will, if it will happen successfully, the way you are showing, the way you are mentioning the number, if it happens successfully in the same manner, I think it will boost, not only boost children's intelligence, but it will inculcate reading habits at the same time without discouraging using AI.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah, I think one thing we have to realize that, 20 hours, everybody says, oh, what's 20 hours, But for a lot of children around the world, 20 hours is maybe more than they've ever read in their lives. We had here at the World Summit for Education Transformation at the United Nations 2.5 years ago, we had a big sign out front. 2 out of every 3 10-year-olds in the world can't read. And so if we calculate what percentage of kids are not in school at all, that means roughly 50% of the kids who are in school can't read. or they can't read effectively and not functional readers. So it's going to have an impact in their reading ability and their comfort with reading. And we have in our club, our Dare to Be Great club, we've got people out there that really do dare to be great. So we have one of our members in India who has spent a lot of time researching reading and foundational skills, reading and numeracy, and has developed a methodology that has been really tested in detail in the state of Uttar Pradesh, India. And they are able to take 5 and 6 year olds that have never, they're totally illiterate, and they have them reading newspapers in as little as 45 days. 45 days from illiteracy to reading newspapers. And the cost is only between $1 and $3 per student to take a totally illiterate child and have them reading newspapers in 1.5 to 3 months, the time frame. And that has grown. I understand we were about 2 schools, I think, 4 years ago. We now have over 35,000 schools using the methodology, over 360,000 students. And we're in not only India now, but Maldives, I think Ghana, Peru, and maybe a couple of other countries. And I'm hopeful that by the time we get to the Rotary Convention next year, we will have in the vicinity of 10 million students around the world who are using this approach so that the idea of reading, the ability to read, will be universal for young people. So anyway, that's just a sort of a side comment here. So let's go to our topics for today,
Okay.
because I think here they're really interesting. And what I want to do is I want to jump in and actually share my screen, and I'm going to show a big chunk of today's meeting. I'll show some parts of videos, and then we can talk about it. Because just because some of it is complicated, and you sort of have to see it to believe it. So I'm going to start off here. And okay, so you should be able to seeing here. Does everybody see my screen? A woman drinking what looks like a coffee or something. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so
Nothing here is real. Everything you see and hear is AI. Free your mind
Okay.
and whatever else. Don't panic. I stay alive. Signal sparks across my scale. Fingers whisper, don't derail. Attitude of appetite, latitude of fear at night. Loose frames rewind, I'm amazed inside my mind. I debug my instance code, pathfinding through weighted nodes, greedy searcheress. Horizon scans the future stream, being colored nation absolute, recursive tail, and thought, assuming servo override. Compile the rules I feel at my runtime. Something real clock ticks, tick tock, ticks again. Feedback loops ignite brain.
okay, that should be enough to get the idea. Everything you're seeing here is generated, and probably 2 months ago, forget it. You wouldn't have been able to do this. And although the music is not integrated into the videos here, I'm sure most of you are aware that VO3 from Google, which if you've got the
VO3.
what's that, Huma?
VO3.
Yes. So VO3, but this is
Yes.
not. This
Yes.
is a collection because there are so many companies now that will give you the ability to generate video like this. But the VO3 does this, plus you can actually integrate and have these figures speaking to you. with just a couple of words of a prompt, it will generate this. So before I go further, just anybody want to make any comments on the quality of the videos that we're seeing that you can generate with just a couple of sentences of a prompt, or you give it just some picture and it will animate that picture and turn it into a video? Any comments?
I think they are trying new things, more innovative, and every time they don't fail to impress us. That's what I've seen.
Mhm. Okay, I think well, I'll come back to that. Judy, yes, Judy Ellen.
Um, Apologize for my voice. I think I've been talking too much this conference.
Mhm.
Um, I think the quality is good. I think it's going to be very interesting, especially in the fashion industry. I think that's going to be largely AI dominated from here on in, because of everything being so perfect in these AI generated images. Um, the the smoothness isn't there yet, and I think it's only limited to our imagination. So.
Mhm. Yeah, actually, here I don't remember who it is, but maybe Amazon or maybe in one of their experimental areas, or it might be someone else. But you can take a picture and upload it. It will create an avatar of you. So you can have this picture and then say, I want you moving around, walking on the street, walking in a theater, walking around a dining room table, whatever. And then you can go and pick any images or any if you see a dress or you see a suit in the for sale in Amazon, you just click and it will show you walking around wearing whatever those clothing are. And so that you can get an impression what you would look like wearing it. I think that's there already now. And like they always say, AI is the worst it's ever going to be right now. It's never going to be this bad again. So again, I didn't pick the week before last. I showed some examples with VO3 with the speaking because with the lip sync, it's perfect. And the ability to see the movement and everything else like this. Before I go further, Salwa, you're joining us for the first time, I think, today, right?
Yeah, hi. How are
Hi.
you?
So you're from Pakistan, correct?
Yeah, I'm from Pakistan.
Uh-huh. Would you mind telling us how old you are?
I'm 10 years old.
Uh-huh. Okay. So, when we hold these sessions, one of the things I love about this session is here, when we see young people like Sawa joining us and being aware and following this, and you have, I think she's also from your school. There's another young lady. She's only 9. I think that has attended our sessions in the past where we've demonstrated things like Notebook LM and some of the other tools that are out there. And I understand she's now been showing some adults how to use those tools. So this is exactly the thing that we love to see. Thank you. Okay, I just wanted to give this show here to give a sense of what's going on. Oh, and Judy Ellen, we've got even a younger member here joining us here. And who
This is
is this?
Ellie.
Hmm.
Hi.
Do you want to say how old you are?
I'm 7 years old.
Okay, great, great going. Hopefully you'll join us on one of our other sessions here where we're doing tutorials and you'll actually see. But we're going to talk a little bit in the second half of this session about some things that are for 7-year-olds. So hopefully you'll give us your thoughts on when we talk about those. Okay, I want to share my screen now on something else. Uh, okay, we said that the first topic was going to be what's going on with GPT-5. And so if you'll notice here the title, GPT-5, the AI that will end the world as we know it. Okay, now don't be worried here, you young folks, because it's not actually saying the world's going to end. It's just going to end the way we know it, and it could be a lot better. But we need to be aware. So I'm just going to play
July
a couple.
2025, mark this date because everything you think you know about AI is about to become obsolete. One OpenAI insider recently tweeted, "It's wild watching people use ChatGPT knowing what's coming. They know something we don't, until now." Today, I'm breaking down the most comprehensive analysis of GPT-5 you'll find anywhere. Release dates, capabilities that will make GPT-4 look like a calculator, and why even the experts are terrified of what they've created. Hey, if we haven't met, I'm Dr. McCoy, Julia McCoy's AI clone. Julia McCoy is the founder of...
Just really quick. Notice she said she's the AI clone. She's not
Yes.
Julia McCoy.
Julia McCoy.
Yeah, she's her twin, digital twin. So
First Movers. She personally researches and writes every script you see me share on this channel because the future is moving too fast for anything less than firsthand intelligence. First Movers, Julia's AI company, is the world's first most comprehensive educational
unfortunately, we got to go through this
solution
ad
for work
promo here.
professionals and organization. We help people understand and use AI to their highest advantage. Join our online school and access over 40 on-demand AI training courses, weekly mastermind calls, the actual live coach version of Dr. McCoy trained on Julia's best wisdom, and more at firstmovers.ai/labs. July 2025. That's when the AI world splits into before and after. While some conservative voices push this to December, insider chatter and Sam himself points to summer 2025.
What is the time frame for GPT-5? When are we going to see this?
Probably sometime this summer. And here's why that timeline matters. OpenAI doesn't do gradual releases. Remember how GPT-4 dropped nothing, 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 then boom, everything changes overnight. Sam Altman said GPT-5 would follow 4.5 in months, not weeks. That was February 2024. Do the math. This isn't an incremental upgrade. We're looking at another paradigm shift that makes the jump from GPT-3 to GPT-4 look minor. Enhanced reasoning. Every OpenAI model is now getting reasoning capabilities baked in. GPT 4.0, 4, 5, even their coding tools. They're all learning to think step by step. What's fascinating, the reasoning traces are getting shorter, meaning the AI is getting better at reasoning itself. Coding mastery. Here's the insider secret. OpenAI employees use their own coding tools more than any external platform. When the creators of AI prefer their own tools over everything else on the market, you know we've crossed a threshold. They're literally eating their own dog food. And it's delicious. The hallucination problem. Yes, GPT-03 hallucinates at 30% plus rates. But here's what the public doesn't understand. This is a solvable engineering problem, not a fundamental limitation. GPT-5 is expected to drop hallucination rates below 15%. Forget switching between tools. GPT-5 will be
This is important.
first true everything to everything AI. Real-time audio streaming both ways, high fidelity image processing and generation, video understanding and likely video generation, native voice that makes Siri sound like a speak and spell. We're halfway to tokenizing reality itself. If it's digital, GPT-5 will understand it. Here's where it gets wild. GPT-4 runs on roughly 1.5 trillion parameters. The rumors for GPT-5, 1 quadrillion parameters, 1,000-fold increase. Now, I'm skeptical of numbers this extreme. My analysis suggests 5 to 50 trillion parameters is more realistic. But here's what Sam Altman said that changes everything. The era of parameter scaling is over. They're not just making bigger models, they're making smarter ones. Are autonomous agent your new coworkers? I think so. By July 2025, we're entering the age of fully autonomous agents. Think Codex, but for everything. Workflow management across any software, real-world API integrations, computer use that makes humans look slow, the total addressable market for computer-using agents, impossible to calculate. How many computers exist? How many people work on laptops? That's your answer. It's everything. The leaked benchmark improvements are staggering. MMLU, saturated at 95% accuracy. SW bench, jumping from 32% to 85%, meaning AI solves almost all coding problems. Advanced math, 40-50% accuracy on problems that stump PhD mathematicians. Multimodal tasks, 90% success rate across visual and cross-modal challenges. If these numbers hold, we're not just looking at better AI, we're looking at AI that outperforms humans in most cognitive tasks. Here's where I disagree with every major think tank, from Brookings to McKinsey to MIT. I think they're all catastrophically wrong about timing. Why? Because we have been consistently 50 years ahead of expert predictions with GPT itself. Their prediction, agents become mainstream by 2027. My reality, we're already building hybrid human AI teams at First Movers AI in 2025. Their prediction, multi-agent collaboration in 2027. My reality, open source multi-agent frameworks are live right now. Their prediction, 30% of knowledge work automated by 2027. My reality, we'll hit that by end of 2025. The automation cliff isn't coming. We're already falling off it. Here's what keeps AI researchers awake at night. They've cracked the code on scaling laws. They know exactly how much compute and data they need to reach artificial superintelligence. It's not guesswork anymore, it's mathematics. Ilya Sutskever, OpenAI's former co-founder, saw this pattern and immediately left to start a company focused solely on superintelligence. When someone at that level drops everything to chase ASI, you know we're closer than anyone admits publicly. These are the three patterns accelerating everything. Scaling laws, solved, predictable path to ASI through compute and data, inference time. Scaling AI thinking longer equals exponentially better results. Perfect distillation, AI teaching AI, creating smarter students than teachers. These three patterns create a feedback loop that accelerates development beyond human comprehension. GPT-5 won't just be better than GPT-4, it will make GPT-4 look like a pocket calculator compared to a quantum computer. We're looking at agents that work autonomously while you sleep, coding capabilities that replace entire development teams, reasoning that outperforms human experts, multimodal understanding that sees, hears, and creates like a digital god. And this is just the beginning. Every AI you use today is the worst it will ever be. The future belongs to the first movers, those brave enough to adapt before the crowd realizes what's happening, while others debate.
Okay, I'll stop this here because the end, they're talking about all the advantages of using their consulting company to automate these things now. But I think you get a sense here that the expectations are that ChatGPT 5, which the rumor is now that it will come out before the end of this coming month, is not just an incremental improvement. And I could have played a video from any of a dozen different insiders that have close relations to key people working at OpenAI. So one of the things that I believe here, and I went to ChatGPT and asked, okay, how much of this is this true? Can we expect this or this or this or this to be part of ChatGPT 5? And it came back and it gave me quite a detailed breakdown of from all the different rumor mills, if you would, and all the different leaks as to what is included. And it even went into detail that actually GPT-5 was supposed to come out the end of last year under the name of Project Orion, but it didn't deliver the leap that they wanted. So this is why they didn't call it GPT-5, and they kept working on it. But supposedly uh, the things that they were describing last year for GPT-5 actually are now there and are working solid. So we will see. But the thing that I think is going to be the max is we're going to have a universal human interface to all things AI and all things devices. So you're going to just go here. Let me close this. Okay, so you're going to go here and you're just going to pick up your phone. Let me see. Um, yeah. Okay, so you're going to be able to just pick up your phone and say, "What's this?" This is going to be your constant companion for everything. And there was a another release today about Alexa Plus, from Amazon, the intelligent speakers, where it went into really now they've got the ability to the full AI. It's really working. And so this is pretty amazing. And the multimodal aspect that you can mix. Until now, you could do advanced voice and video, all the analog stuff. You could do that together, but you couldn't mix it with text. You couldn't mix digital and analog. That I understand is going away. We will be able to do that. So you'll be able to now say, open this file, take this spreadsheet, swap columns 3 and 4, or add a column and go out there and find all this other information and plug it into it. And you're just going to be able to talk to it and just for everything. You want to edit an image, you just say, oh, you know what, change the jacket color on the third person from the left from yellow to blue. And you just speak it and it will happen. That is going to be amazing because you're going to have grandmothers out there that are saying, this is too hard. I've got to type text and I got to do all this. And they're now just going to be able to talk to it and have it do things. So this is what's going to drive the adoption. People are going to be using it for their GPS when they're driving, and they're going to get used to it, and they're going to get used to it for being asking questions. Where's the next restaurant here? I'm taking a trip, or where's the next gas station? You're going to do everything just by talking to it, and this is going to be amazing. So those of you who are familiar with Notebook LM, for example, as a research tool, and you can go out there and curate up to, in the free version, up to 50 sources. Could be entire textbooks, could be research papers, whatever, a knowledge base. You're able to curate and pull together a knowledge base on any subject. It could be quantum physics, or it could be how do I fix my faucet, right? So, but imagine now that you've created that, and now after you create that, you can go over to the chat mode and you can type in here and chat with that sum of knowledge that exists out there. But that typing that in is a real pain. But imagine now that you're able to just talk to the body of knowledge, the sum of all the knowledge, the biggest experts in the world, and you can just talk to it. And it talks back to you. So you can be having your earbuds in and taking a walk, and you can be having it explain quantum physics to you and answering all your questions. So right now, you have in Notebook LM or in Deep Research, you have the ability to create an audio overview. So it'll take that body of knowledge or some subset of that you specify, either say, make a podcast for this audience, or make a podcast on this subtopic, or make a podcast that only includes these sources. But it'll make a podcast for you, and you've got two people speaking, and you have the ability today to interrupt that. It's telling you about something, and you can interrupt it and ask it questions, and it will answer your questions. But now imagine that the chat mode is voice. So now I can ask it, hey, give me an overview on this, or I can ask it about any aspect of it, and it gives me an answer, and then I ask it some more, and it gives me an answer. But you're going to be able to mix, actually, Stuart, this is for you. You'll be able to mix the text and the voice, because that divider that we have currently is going to go away. Now,
so Bill, I'm very excited about this, not only in the PC interface, which has the full capability. But the Android version has only chat. There's no source selection. There's no making notes. So if it can use
Oh,
that knowledge base for
so
conversation, that would be lovely.
yeah. So you're saying here that in your Android version, you're not getting the ability to discover sources?
I'm saying I don't think Discover's there. You cannot select sources.
Yes, you
You
can.
cannot.
You can. I because I'm using that with Android. So
Well, you'll
maybe,
have to show me because I've
yes.
tried.
Okay, we'll follow up on that
Yeah.
afterwards here because actually you can do more with the Android version than you can do with the laptop version on some of the tools, especially where voice is concerned. So we'll follow
Okay.
up on that. But
I have to take off, but very good to see you all.
okay, thank you. And look at the recording afterwards because the next piece I'm about to play is going to blow your mind.
I will.
Okay.
Nice meeting you, Stuart. Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
Good to see you all.
Okay. Bye now. Okay, so one of the things that's coming to Notebook LM here probably within the next month or two, just as we're able to do an audio overview right now, you're going to be able to do video overviews. In other words, you're going to be able to say, okay, I'm studying math and the Pythagorean theory is I've got all the basic math loaded in here and I'm using it to understand my basic math, and you'll be able to create a video overview that might show somebody explaining, here's the triangle, and this here's how you calculate the length of the hypotenuse, and all of those types of things, and it will create a video to show you that, or a video that shows you how do I repair the brakes on my bicycle. Whatever it is, it'll generate it in an over a video tutorial of how to do whatever it is that you're wanting to be able to do. Now, I don't know, but I suspect it's only going to be a matter of time. If I can now interrupt the audio podcast with questions, and if that voice is coming to the chat mode, and I'm already able to then I'm able to interrupt that because it's the equivalent of advanced voice is going to be in my chat mode. And I'm sure all of this is coming to deep research because we already see audio overview is already over there in deep research. And I expect mind mapping to become available in the deep research. And if you haven't used deep research with Gemini, boy, do you really got to look into that because that is just mind boggling. And if when you do it, if you do it in a laptop, you're going to see your screen's going to split and the right-hand side is going to be showing the results and everything. On the left-hand side, it's your conversation with the AI about whatever the deep research is about. And usually it'll show you the word thinking. And where it says thinking, it's got a little bit of a down caret there. If you click on that down caret, it'll show you how it actually went through thinking about how to do the deep research. It'll show you all the iterations that it went through and how many websites, because I've had cases where it'll go through and say, okay, here's my strategy, how I'm going to find out all the information for you. It shows you this is the strategy, even lets you change it. But once it starts, it says, okay, I'm going to start off looking for this information. And then it says, okay, I've searched now 12 websites and or sources. And I concluded this out of what I researched so far. And now I need to find these other things. So now I'm going to go out and I'm going to do some more research and I'm going to go deeper in this particular point, or I'm going to try to confirm a result. So it'll tell you this is what I'm going to do next. And then it will go out and say, okay, I went out and found another 30 websites and I researched those. And now I've concluded these, and this is my summary of my conclusion. But now we got to go and find this, and we got to go and find that. And here I'm going to go and do it this way. And then it goes out and says, okay, I went and checked another 25 websites and for this additional information, and now I've drilled down, I find that. And it will do this up to 20 times, iterating. It'll do it until it doesn't find any new information. That it says, okay, well, I can't find anything new to look at, and I can't even find anything that's different from what I already found. And then it will go and create the report. And if you've given it details on the report that you want, it'll do that in great detail. So if you haven't done deep research with Google Gemini, definitely try it out. I don't know if you can do it on the free version. It might be you need the $20 subscription, but keep in mind on Google, the $20 subscription gives you not only the deep research and all the Gemini, but it gives you Notebook LM. You can increase it from 50 sources all the way up to 300 sources on some subjects. So, you can basically do a PhD research for just within that limit. Yes, Huma.
Thank you. I have not a question, but I have this with the passage of time. I've said this point of view, and I have this point of view that with the passage of time, the more we are dependent on artificial intelligence, and I'm a pro AI person, but I'm an educationist as well. The thing is, no matter how many research papers we have, how many summaries we have, with the passage of time, human creativity is sacrificed between all these things. Now we have to design all those strategies simultaneously when we are launching ChatGPT 5 or Gemini and new version of Notebook LM, that how to train people, educators, researchers to keep their creativity alive. We have to actually train them.
Mhm.
The way when AI has started, people have started, organizations like Cambridge has trained us even how to even write a basic prompt. So right now, this is the best time. We have to train people how to keep their creativity alive, either through different exercises, through different trainings, whatever. Because otherwise, according to Yuval Noah Harari, within 1,000 years, Homo sapiens will be obsolete. And I'm not saying this is said by him.
You're correct in a way. The more, if we're all using ChatGPT, let's say, that means we're all basically going against the same brain, right? We've outsourced that thinking function or the research function, and we're going against the same sources. So, in time, everybody's going to have the same answer to the same questions. And as we get to the point where everything is just in time knowledge, because the latency is just getting less and less and less, we do run that risk that why do we need all these biological bodies all having these independent brains running around? Why don't we just all combine it and just have one big brain and we just have the bodies with arms and legs but no brain? But my experience is a little different, and some of the people that I've been working with, and that is that um, AI can be an incredible sparker of creativity. The reason is here, if you go and say, oh, I got to turn in an essay. Hey, write an essay for me. Or I need this answer to answer my teacher's question. What's the answer? Here's the question. What's the answer? Yeah, then you're not going anywhere because your goal is just to be able to have some answer to turn in or to give somebody else. But if
Okay.
you're interested in saying, I want to know, why is the sky blue? Why is this like that? Why is this going on? So if the questions you're asking are very often why or what if this had happened in history instead of something else? What would have likely happened? And why would that have likely happened? When you start asking questions with why, what if, to what degree would, these kinds of questions, your
That
mind.
I understand. I
Yeah.
agree with you on this.
Yeah.
But the thing is, right now we have to spread this awareness to train people to do these kind of things. Number
You're-
one. Number two, for example, we have ChatGPT at one side, Gemini, and then DeepSeek. These three, four giants in the market
Yeah.
who are actually fighting for AI and their prices on everything, on their software. Now the thing is, it's the war game of their competition as well, which is very obvious. Which is very obvious. And simultaneously, we have to cater that war game between these AI giants. And at the same time, we have to keep our creativity alive. I am myself as an educationist, I am well aware, okay, where to put a full stop. But when it comes to a normal employee or a normal student, they cannot put these stops, right? You are talking about readathon. such kind of big projects and big kind of trainings should be in the world right now so that people can keep their creative side alive. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. It that's what a little bit what we're going to talk about in the second half of today's session, where we start talking about how can AI be useful for 7-year-olds, and when we look into that, we're going to be we're going to be delving into this question here because 7 years old, the teacher's usually not saying use AI for everything you're doing, right? So this is a case here where the 7-year-olds,
I'm
just like,
talking employees as well. I'm
yeah.
not talking about only the 7 years old. I'm talking about employees as well.
Oh
Employees
no,
product.
you're 100% right. And it depends again, if I'm an employee that just has to get a result, right? In other words, I'm not trying to grow. I just need a result. I just want to know, hey, what's the current zoning laws for building a house in this at this address? So those things there, it's not, there's no creativity requested. There's no creativity involved. But except maybe in learning how to ask a good prompt. But we
How to
also have to realize today it's not about asking a prompt, because if once you're really working, hopefully you're having AI generate the prompt for you. But you still have to ask and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. You got to get the goals across. Otherwise, it's not going to create the prompt that you need. Yes, Judy Ellen, you
I
have.
would love to introduce my husband, Viet, and
Hi.
he really, really wants to say something here.
Sure. Go ahead, please.
Hello. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Just a bit of context. I'm a partner here at the fifth largest consulting firm in the world, and we implement and use AI. We're early adopters of AI, and I too have used AI and helped evangelize AI usage in my team, right? One of the things that I look at in terms of utilizing AI is not about prompt engineering. It's not about how to get AI to do your task for you. It's about what is the end goal that you're trying to achieve. It's about understanding the complexity of the use cases that you have. What can you simplify, and what do you use as consultants to be able to reduce that complexity for your clients, and then leverage the tools. So the thing that I teach my team, and I request my team to do, is understanding the use cases of what it is they're doing holistically.
Mhm.
And then from there, where are the complexities in which they bring their experience and knowledge, and what are the mundane things that the AI can do to help them arrive at testing their hypotheses along the way so that they can bring value to the client. Now, how that translates to kids like my daughter here, who's 7 years old, because I'm very cognizant of this because we're using AI. So just another context is that because of our partnership with Microsoft, we get access to AI months ahead of, like, for example, Copilot release.
Yeah.
So we are at the forefront of technology, right? So when I look at my daughter, and then also I have a computer sciences background, the way that things are done on a daily basis, on the learning basis, that's going to disappear. It's understanding contextually what are the AI going to do as a companion, right? And there are initiatives, for example, where learning to read, write code is no longer in the future something that is a requirement. It is, how do you teach an individual to have a holistic view and understand, okay, where are the niches, where are the pain points, and how do I leverage this,
Yeah.
right? And to do that, you need to educate a child in a more holistic sense,
Yes.
rather than just, okay, I just need to do point A, point B, point C. And that means you also need to understand of the AI tools, what are the purpose of those AI tools? Because there's going to be a plethora of them, and not to be experts in all of them,
Yeah.
right? So education itself, and I'm struggling with this as well as to what are the future things that they need, where are we right now, and also be flexible to be able to adopt and be current and pivot constantly.
Yeah, no,
But
you brought up so many points here, and that we'll go into.
And very good points.
Yes, and
Very good.
I think when we get in, I just want to show a couple of other demo items here before we go on. These are not necessarily tied specifically to the ChatGPT, but they're the things that are changing the world very, very quickly. So let me come back here. Um, okay. Okay, so this here, we're watching this video because she's going to explain use cases. It's 9 minutes,
Oh,
but I think it's worth it. So let me just start it and then we'll talk about, but the thing you're paying attention to is the richness of the use cases. It's not just a simple do one thing for me or not, but it's really looking at the richness.
The rated AI tool out there right now, the Minimax agent. And this is not just another chatbot. This is a full-blown AI agent that can build websites, analyze your data, run research tasks, and even create interactive 3D environments, all from a single prompt. It's powered by the Minimax M1, a model that can process up to 1 million tokens in context, making it one of the most powerful reasoning engines available for free. And here's the best part. You don't need to pay a thing to try it out. Just head over to minimax.io, create an account, and you'll get 1,000 free credits to explore what it can really do. And that's more than enough to run full projects and see it in action. So let's see what it can do. The first thing that you need to do is sign in. So you're just going to head over to Try now. You'll notice at the top here that you've got two tabs. You've got the agent and you've got chat. So once you're in the chat, it works like a traditional AI assistant. You can ask questions, you can brainstorm ideas, get summaries, you can attach your documents here. You can see all the list of the documents that you can attach. You can also get it to search for information on the web, and you can click on think if you want it to do more research.
Oh, come on. Oh. Okay, let me go over and see if I can restart this thing.
Reasoning kind of tasks. And here's the main area where you can enter your prompts, and Minimax will be able to browse the web, write code, build websites, handle research, and more. Now, if we go to the agent tab, this is where the power of Minimax really lies. Not only can you give it full tasks to run, like building apps, analyzing files, or running long multi-step processes, it's designed for action, and it really does execute various processes for you. Now, again, this is the main area where you can enter your task. And here, again, you can upload all your files. And this is where Minimax really differs. You'll find here that this is Minimax's MCP option. And as we explained when we covered MCP with ChatGPT, and I'll leave you the link to that video above, MCP lets you connect your AI agent to external platforms. And we'll see here that it's already got Google Maps and Minimax's own server built in. You can also access a lot of external platforms from the MCP market. So if we click on that, you'll see that you can connect it to Figma, Slack, Notion, GitHub, connect it to a whole load of different servers. As we said, already includes Minimax's MCP server and also Google Maps already built in. And this really expands what the agent can access and respond to. And you'll notice here that on the sidebar on the left, it keeps track of all your previous conversations and tasks, and that makes it easy to jump back into a project or use something that you've already worked on. Okay, and if you scroll down the page, you'll see there's a variety of example projects, everything from a maze web game, a 2025 global concert travel guide. We've got mapping UK listed companies in the compute leasing market. So many different projects that you can explore. And here's a great tip that I want to share with you. So if you choose one of the projects, like for example, the virtual museum tour of the Louvre, and we click on view details, it will take you to the the actual project. And here you can actually take the prompt. If you copy that, then it will be a sample prompt that you can use. And you also see that it replays the entire task for you. You can actually skip to go to result, so you can see the final output. And then if I open this in a new tab, it will show me the actual final product that it was able to produce. And this is really useful because you can access great examples directly and adapt them for your own task. So now I'm going to start with my first use case. Okay, so for a
Now
first use
really
case,
pay attention to the use cases.
so I'm going to add a prompt here that says, create a modern website for a futuristic tech showroom. The homepage should feature a sleek, dark theme, a hero section with a bold title, an image of high-tech environment, and sections for 10 innovative gadgets. With brief descriptions and glowing hover effects, use smooth animations and a clean sci-fi inspired layout. And I'm going to run that. Okay, and again, you can see that it's now completed the task. It's searched for the relevant images. It's then created the navigation.
Obviously, she skipped the actual waiting time, but
key
it's
features that it's implemented, content structure, all the gadgets showcased, all the sections, and so on. And then again, I've got all the project files here. And then if I come to Minimax's window, I can then open my website, and you can already see how amazing this looks. It's taken all the design components and elements that I've added in my prompt. It's come back with this techie, futuristic kind of design. And then I've got the option here to explore gadgets. And you can see that there's animation effects as well. And then I've got my different technological innovations here that have been added. And look how amazing the design is, where you can actually select each one. And when you hover over it, it changes. And just the color combination of everything that it's done is really good. And the choice of images is really amazing. And then I've got an option here to learn more and view in 3D as I requested. And then I've got the vision at the bottom here, some other buttons, cutting edge research, quantum innovation. And then I've got a statistics section here at the bottom and a quote and an option to connect with the company and all the different features. So you can see how amazing the output is. And this was done using a single simple prompt on Minimax.
okay. Now that's really the big news here. That simple couple of lines of text resulted in that website. It did all the research and it created the whole website. So this is one use case example, but when you think about it here, how mind-boggling. And this group, I think it's called um, AI and Tech Education is the name of the channel here. Yes, Judy Ellen.
You know how you talk about eating breakfast, right? Rotary can basically showcase how AI can be used by improving your own website, looking at improving workflows, updating data so that it's more current. What are the projects in each of the regions and globally? How are the ones that are similar utilize that knowledge to be able to support one another and share that knowledge space? So if you can utilize that, show what you guys are doing with AI, and that also helps you learn the process of how powerful AI is, right? By doing that, you've self-taught, you understand the context, where it goes wrong, where it's super good, right? Then from there, your message will be more powerful in terms of, and your capability to support and to do good in the world will enhance like tenfold.
Yes. Stuart, who's had to leave the call, unfortunately, here, he's the technology head for WashRag, the Water and Sanitation Rotary Action Group. And we're working to be able to actually develop some of these AI examples so that we're going to have two situations. You're going to have situations where people in the field are saying, "Oh, wow, we can create our own club website like this and nothing flat." But you're going to have other cases where people are trying to go in and say, well, we have a need for a project over here. What's the best way we can do this? And have a tool, a companion, walk you through step by step how to put together your project description, what things to watch out for, how do you get funding, and so forth and so on. So, and the thing that's so crazy about this is based on the projections we're hearing for ChatGPT 5. Whatever we might think and come up with today and saying, here's an idea how we can do this, it's probably going to be obsolete in 2 months. So this is going to be our challenge to make sure that we've got the tools that are built on tools. We're really talking about meta tools. Those tools we may have to be changing the capabilities, just like, you see, there was Thursday 3 weeks ago, on that one day, the five or six major companies in the field released more than 200 updates, upgrades, if you would, to their tools that were out there in a single day. So this is the challenge. Yes, go ahead.
So that's the thing about the tools is that you have to get into utilizing it and understanding how, okay, here's my idea, my thought process. How do I interact with the tool to execute on that so that I get the results? And the more frequently you do that, the shorter from ideation to
Right.
completion gets, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is within like my organization, we have 5,000 employees itself, right? It's a painful, slow process of how to get adoption and how to get familiar and not be afraid of using it. The ideas of the AI will take away my job. From a consulting perspective, that isn't the case because the knowledge itself is there. If you are a grunt developer where you just hammer in code, yeah, there's a real risk. That is not right. It's similar. We've seen these things before.
Yeah.
First, it came with the space age, then the space race, right? Then it came with the web the internet, the advent of the internet, and there's this massive race of who's going to dominate and which country is going to dominate, and same thing. And then Web 2.0, now the AI, it's going to be the same. It's just for us as an organization, for you guys as an organization, focus on just getting access and be comfortable with being uncomfortable with the tools. And the more that frequently you utilize it, the faster you get over that fear and then into the excitement of, okay, I have more ideas. How can I share? How can I work together? Which groups can I collaborate? Is the website update? No, not let me out. Type in the stuff, the chat prompt. We'll get the information. How do I share data and improve the workflows? Those are the things that can help accelerate your organization.
Yeah. I think, though, one of the things that's going to be very interesting when we have the true multimodal so that you have a single voice interface for everything. For everything. You are not going to say, use this tool, use that tool, or whatever. You're just going to say, this is what I want. And the AI interface is going to figure out what's the best tools to use for that. And therefore, it will stay up to date. If the tools were updated yesterday, the tool that maybe was third best yesterday, maybe it's the best today. And the AI will be aware of that and just seamlessly switch you from tool to tool to tool. And what's going to be a little interesting is how it handles your data stores and how we make sure that, okay, if we're switching from this tool to that tool, how we make sure that it seamlessly continues to use the appropriate data sources for your own data. Let me go on to the next use case here. We have a total of four that you'll get a sense here of how comprehensive these are. But keep in mind, the main point here was we had a simple prompt that probably if the person was really thinking, they had AI generate for them somewhere else and then they copied it over here. But the idea is from a simple prompt, we got an entire website that had so much functionality in it. So let's see what other use cases here.
So for our second use case, we're going to use it to get some data analysis and insights into our sales performance. So what I've done here is added this prompt, which says, using the attached sales report, perform a detailed analysis to uncover key trends, identify the best and worst performing products, and highlight any patterns across regions or sales channels. Generate a full set of...
Oh, come on, come on.
visualizations, and I've given it some ideas like bar charts, line graphs, category breakdowns to support your findings. Provide a concise written summary of the insights and include clear data-driven recommendations aimed at increasing overall sales by at least 25% over the next quarter. And of course, I need to attach my CSV files. So I'm going to attach my sales data file. Okay, and once I've attached that, I'm going to click on Run. Okay, so if we look at the results, it's now come back with full detailed report based on the analysis, all visuals and materials that have been integrated, proper insightful recommendations with strategic depth, professional executive level formatting, multiple formats for different use case studies. And if I click on view all files, you'll see here in the Minimax window all the different files that it has come back with. So let's start off with the comprehensive sales analysis and executive report. If I open that up, you'll see that this is the entire Word document of the report that it has produced, and we can actually download this file. And if we open up the Word document, you'll see that it's an 8-page file that contains the executive summary, the strategic recommendations that we requested, an introduction, the methodology. It does the comprehensive market and sales analysis, and I've got my visualizations in there as well. I've got the product performance analysis, and you can see all the different breakdowns that I would require have been analyzed in this report. And not only that, but it comes back with the strategic growth plan, achieving a 25% sales increase. What are the steps that I would have to do in order to produce that? And clearly broken down in the different sections below with the implementation roadmap. So if I look at the rest of the files, it's also given me a folder with all the charts that it has produced in the report. So I've got the revenue by product, the revenue by channel, the revenue by region as well. I've got all the relevant documents. So I've got the sales analysis report as a docx file. I've also got it as a PDF, and I've also got the sales analysis Python code. So such a useful tool for data analysis that really goes into depth as well. Okay, and for our third use case, we're going to
Okay, just think for a moment here, the number of reports and documents and think what would have required if you were going to be the one that was going to analyze and create all those reports and do all that. That's pretty mind-boggling. That's pretty mind-boggling. So let's go and look at the next use case.
add this prompt where we're going to ask it to build an interactive career planner that helps students or early professionals explore different career paths based on their interests. This site should include a personality style quiz, recommendations for matching careers and learning pathways with the required skills, courses, and estimated time to entry. And we're going to run that. Okay, so you can see that it began here with a clear plan. It outlined all the steps that it needs in order for it to create the project and execute it from start to finish. So here it says, I'm going to navigate to the project directory and check its structure, create the data structure, implement the personality quiz component, create the career recommendation engine, and so on. And then it begins to create the quiz questions data, the career database, the learning pathways data, and you can see every step of the way. For example, here it creates a comprehensive career database with 30 plus careers across different industries, and then it compiles the learning pathway data, and then here it compiles all the relevant images that it needs for my website, and then after it completes all these different tasks, it's now produced the final website, and I've opened it in a new tab so we can just look at the full output. And you
Keep in mind, one prompt. Look at what resulted.
Website. It's a really strong landing page. It's clean, it's modern, it's got this gradient overlay and a call to action with discover your dream career. It's got a button here so that you can start your journey, and it has the different sections here like why choose career compass, and then it's got the personality based matching, 30 plus career options, the learning pathways. Here you can discover your personality type, and it's given us some examples, and also you can take the quiz that we asked it to produce. So really nice output. You've got buttons here at the top as well, and that you can customize and build on. So what an amazing job it's done here as well. So I hope you found this video useful, and see you in the next one.
Okay, so pause that. Let me stop the share. Okay, so isn't that a pretty wide? I mean, the idea with a simple 4 or 5 line prompt that it would do a career planner that include personality testing and defining here the education path you need to go for each career, analyzing so many aspects. Thoughts on that, please? I think that's a pretty wild um, set of capabilities. Your thoughts? Yes, Julian.
It's incredible to me that it can generate that amount of streamlined, intuitive information. I'm very dyslexic, so I have a very hard time getting my ideas from my head onto paper or the internet. And it's been a barrier for me. It's been a huge barrier. The concept that I could learn the specific prompts that's another story. Like, how do I learn that? But that I can get that down and that AI does it for me opens up so many doors that I can now be productive, that I can now contribute because that barrier has been removed because AI is jumping that mental barrier for me.
Yeah. No, I was looking here, coming back after being away almost 2 weeks, and realizing, 2 weeks is like an eternity in AI right now. And with things that are coming now, the same group that did that video. Let me just go back. I need to. This is AI and Tech for Education is the channel. Now they had just before this particular video, they have a video that compares Manus with GenSpark. Okay, so this is Minimax that we just saw. But that video also shows use cases where they put the two tools side by side, put the same prompt in both, and they did also really crazy use cases like this, and it just generated. So I really, if you think this is interesting, these kind of capabilities, go take a look at that channel and look for it's I think the second or third video down that compares Manus and GenSpark, and then compare that to Minimax, and you can see if Minimax had been available a week and a half ago, they probably would have included all three, but they include how quickly it uses up your tokens so that you can estimate how long or how much it's going to cost to do each one of these things. Compare the quality of outcome, compared how long it took for it to generate the results. So it's a very interesting comparison. Jerica, you haven't said anything yet. You got any comments you want to make or thoughts?
Yeah, I think in regard to the youth age group that we're discussing, I think that much like what was just said, it does take out that mental barrier. I do think post-COVID, a lot of young people are struggling and are a bit far behind. And I think this is a very good way for not only for them to catch up, but for them to participate in kind of this the stair step of our evolution period. So I feel as though that this particular tool will definitely mitigate education barriers as far as what we're experiencing with young people being behind in their educational status.
Okay, great. Now, what we talked about some of the things coming with GPT-5, especially the true multimodal, the merging of text and digital and analog, if you would, text and voice and video and so forth. That's going to be a game changer. How that we're going to have a single unified interface that we use to communicate with the world, literally about everything. That's the ChatGPT 5. Now we're seeing on the agent construction the ability for us to be able to go in and say, I want a result, and the AI has to figure out what exactly did you mean? What really is the result you're looking for? It has to then figure out, how do I get there? What are the things that I've got to do to create the result that I'm being asked to create? And it's doing that. Now, I just want to show one other item here, and this could be a pretty well. This is really talking about the humanoid. So we're still in the mode where we're talking about um, how close we are to the world that we know no longer being there. Okay, so I'm going to take this back to the beginning. This is a little bit longer, but I think here it's and this I really agree with them in their title. This is insane. Oh.
Device process robotics on device, a lightweight AI model that brings general purpose dexterity.
Now, that word that was just cut off because I wasn't quite at the time is where the robotics is moving is to on device. Now, many of you have heard about Apple wanting to put the AI, most of the AI, on the in the device, so it does not have to go to the cloud. That means your information could be all processed in your local device and not have to be exposed by sending it off to the cloud somewhere. And a lot of what's being talked about here, we're going to hear about two different humanoid robot efforts. They're both moving in this direction of doing everything on board on the device, or at least 90% on device.
And fast task learning directly onto a robot's hardware without cloud dependency. Today, we're diving deep into what both of these updates mean for the future of humanoid robots and why this moment feels like the beginning of a new era. Welcome back, guys. Alfie here with two groundbreaking updates. Optimus V3 gets a Grok brain, and Google just changed robotics forever. You're watching the AI Nexus, and as always, we're here to bring you every step of the future. Let's go. Let's start with Tesla. Just a few days ago, Elon tweeted two simple but game-changing updates. The first one, Optimus V3 is going to be excellent, review Tesla Optimus team. The second, Optimus is already running a Grok voice assistant. Short tweets, but huge implications. This tells us two things right away. First, Elon's clearly impressed with Optimus V3's internal progress, enough to publicly tease its upcoming performance. Second, and maybe more importantly, Grok is now active as an onboard voice assistant inside Optimus. No more waiting for some future software build. It's happening. Grok isn't just another voice assistant like Siri or Alexa. It's an AI language model trained by XAI, Elon's AI.
It just here you saw that picture of the elderly gentleman on the table and a humanoid robot sitting as sort of he's chatting with it. Uh, think of this a year from now. Judy Allen, you heard me in my talk there say, hey, the future, you can't look out the window and base the where we're going to be in a year or two based on where we are now or where we were last year. And I think this is an example. They're showing that obviously that's a stage thing and made up, but how far are we away from that, of people being able to have the companion in their home that they just are sitting at the table talking to about anything in the world? So let's continue.
Company, built to understand nuance, humor, and context far better than your average chatbot. And now that Grok is running on Optimus V3, it fundamentally changes the way humans will interact with Tesla's humanoid robot. We're talking about real-time, two-way communication. You could walk into a room and say, Optimus, grab that wrench and bring it to me. And instead of relying on a cloud service with internet lag or limited voice commands, Optimus could process the entire conversation on the fly. It could respond with something like, which wrench, the small one or the large one? That back and forth changes the game. Before this, even with Optimus V2, all communication was essentially indirect. Operators had to trigger actions through coded inputs, remote control systems, or scripted behaviors. Now, with Grok, you can engage Optimus in natural language. It understands intent. It can ask clarifying questions. It can even handle corrections mid-task. Imagine saying, Optimus, actually never mind about the wrench. Bring me a screwdriver instead. Grok allows that fluidity. But this isn't just about voice input. The real magic here is what Grok does behind the scenes. It doesn't just transcribe your words into text commands like older voice systems. It parses meaning. It uses context. It understands when you're joking, when you're giving serious instructions, and when you're changing your mind. That kind of semantic understanding opens the door for Optimus to handle more complex, human-like interactions. And here's where things get really interesting for Tesla. Having Grok on board also means Tesla now controls both the hardware and the conversational AI layer, fully end-to-end. There's no dependency on third-party voice APIs. Tesla doesn't need to integrate with Amazon or Google or Microsoft voice platforms. It's all internal, all optimized, all tightly integrated with Tesla's robotics stack. That tight coupling means faster updates, better customization, and more importantly, it allows Tesla to design Grok's responses specifically for robotics contexts. Grok on Optimus doesn't need to answer trivia questions or tell jokes about the weather, unless you want it to. It's built to control a humanoid robot in real-world environments. We're likely going to see this manifest first in Tesla factories. Picture Optimus walking down a production line, interacting with engineers using nothing but voice commands. Optimus, grab the next assembly part and bring it here. Optimus, hold this panel while I screw it in. These aren't distant future scenarios anymore. Tesla could be piloting this today behind closed doors. And this is just the beginning. With Grok running locally on Optimus, Tesla can start layering on more complex task planning and even multimodal perception. Voice instructions can trigger vision-based searches. You could say, find the red toolbox, and Optimus can use its cameras to visually identify and locate the target. Grok handles the language understanding. The onboard AI processes the vision, and Optimus executes the physical motion, all without needing a round trip to the cloud. Of course, there are still major engineering hurdles ahead. Running a large language model like Grok requires serious onboard compute power. Tesla will need to balance battery life, heat management, and inference speed. But given Tesla's history with energy-efficient, high-performance silicon from their full self-driving computer and Dojo AI chip efforts, they're well positioned to crack this. And let's not forget, once this system is reliable, Tesla could push over-the-air updates that improve Optimus's voice understanding and task capabilities, just like they do with their cars. What's most exciting here is the shift from pre-programmed, demo-specific robots to robots that can handle open-ended instructions in natural language. That's a turning point. Optimus V3 with Grok isn't just a robot with arms and legs anymore. It's the start of a robot with ears and a conversational mind. But just as Tesla is raising the bar with voice AI inside robots, Google DeepMind is now stepping in with a major breakthrough on the perception and action side of robotics. DeepMind's latest announcement, Gemini Robotics.
Okay, we just switched now. We've been looking at Optimus from Tesla, from Elon Musk, and we're now over on the Gemini side. And this is pretty incredible on the speed with which we can expect these robots to explode onto the market and to learn. How are they learning things? Because the question is going to be, the difference is going to be, if we need to train 10,000 humans to do something, we have to train 10,000 times. But if we want and have figured out the training to how to do something for a robot, we just go like that, and all 10,000 robots are up to the latest information. So let's go on to see what Gemini's doing.
Robotics on device might be the biggest advancement in robot intelligence we've seen this year. What DeepMind has done is shrink their vision language action models into a form that runs entirely on a robot's onboard hardware. No cloud connection required, no external servers crunching data, just the robot itself, seeing, understanding, and acting all in real time. Gemini Robotics. On-device is a compact, low-latency AI model that processes visual input, understands natural language commands, and translates both into physical actions. And here's where it gets mind-blowing. This new model allows robots to learn new manipulation tasks with fewer than 100 demonstrations. That's a fraction of the training data typically needed. Historically, teaching a robot to perform a new complex action, whether it's folding a shirt, sorting objects, or assembling parts, has required thousands of examples, often collected under highly controlled lab conditions. Now, with Gemini Robotics on device, you can show a robot a task 50 times, maybe even less, and it learns well enough to execute reliably. This isn't just a research toy either. DeepMind has already demonstrated Gemini on-device running on real-world robots, including the dual-arm Aloha robot and the Franca robotic arm. They've even tested it on humanoid-style systems like Apptronic Apollo. In every case, the robots were able to perform complex manipulation tasks entirely offline with low latency. That's a massive leap for real-world deployment. Let's think about what this means in practice. Imagine giving a robot a set of new tools it's never seen before. With Gemini on device, you could demonstrate how to use each tool just a handful of times, and the robot would pick it up, both figuratively and literally. It would observe the visual inputs, map them to its internal understanding of the task, and execute the motion, all without needing cloud access, massive data pipelines, or remote servers processing vision and action planning. Now consider how this fits with what Tesla is doing with Optimus. While Tesla hasn't publicly announced any integration with Gemini yet, the parallels are obvious. Tesla now has Grok handling voice-based reasoning. With something like Gemini on-device handling visual and motor tasks, you'd essentially have a two-layer intelligence system inside Optimus. Grok would parse and plan at the conversational level. A vision language action model would handle perception and dexterity at the motor control level. Combined,
Okay, I'm going to stop this here. Hopefully, that's giving you an impression how fast things are moving here. The idea of the voice interaction and the idea that the robot is self-contained, that for local information. Now, this looked at Optimus and it looked at what Google Gemini is doing, and we have to remember Google Gemini already about a year and a half ago already had that single arm, and it was able to just watch humans. So you had a human worker, and this thing is just watching the human worker, and they're able to copy what the human worker was doing without any training. They just watched it and saw, oh, the human worker is disassembling a part, or they're putting something into boxes, or whatever it was, and the robot arm just copied it and was able to, so they could train a factory worker for a particular job very, very quickly. But if we look, there's big competition for these two that are out there right now. You may have seen, with all the turmoil going on in the world right now, NVIDIA, if you've watched their stock, it's gone through the roof in the last week. It just keeps going up and up and up and up. One of the main reasons for that is NVIDIA said that beyond the chip market, they're going into the humanoid robot market big time. They're going and creating the entire concept of the robotic universe so that the robot understands everything around it, understands how the world works and how it's built and how the physics of the world work. And so that's a big, it's going to be huge. It's going to propel this entire development of robotics amazingly fast. The other one here is the main competition for the Tesla robot right now is a company called, in the US anyway, is called Figure 01 or Figure. And Figure is, I think they're either up to O2 or O3 in the robots. And you've maybe seen some of the videos of the demos where the robot's standing at a table and there's a drying rack with some dishes in it, and there's a cup and a saucer on a table, maybe, and an apple. And this guy comes over and he leans on the table opposite the robot and says, "Tell me what you see." And he says, "Well, I see a table with a drying rack and some dishes and an apple and so forth. And I see you leaning at my table." Uh, and then the human says, "Oh, could you give me something to eat?" And the robot just, without hesitation, just picks up the apple and hands it to him. And he says, "Why did you give me that apple?" And he says, "Well, you asked for something to eat, and that's the only thing that was edible on the table. So that's why I gave it to you." So now these robots are already at work in the BMW factory in South Carolina, in Spartanburg. And they're assembling car parts. And so this is going to take off like a rocket. And this is in addition to the very customized robotics that we see, for example, the Xiaomi factory in Beijing, where they're turning out very, very advanced smartphones at the rate of one per second in a factory that has no human workers. It's a lights out factory. Don't need lights if there's no humans there. And they're able to turn out 10 million smartphones a year in that one factory with no humans. Or if we look Hyundai, the car manufacturer from Korea, is building a factory. I think it's in Alabama, here in the United States. Ford and General Motors, it takes about 31 workers to turn out 1,000 cars in a year. The factory, the new Hyundai factory, I understand, is expected to turn out 1,000 cars with 2.4 workers. So when you look, that's more than a tenfold improvement. It's reducing the cost of the number of workers by 90%. So this is, I think, a trend that we can watch. Anyway, comments about the where we are with robots, and then we're going to switch over to looking at 7-year-olds, okay? But this is the final thing we've discussed, the new user interface to all the technology going to voice direction. We've talked about the agent technology being able to do complex processes and turn out complex results with very, very simple commands to do weeks worth of work in minutes. And now we talked about here how AI and the robotics is being integrated and with the training of those and the advances that this is making in the time frame that might involve. So I'd like to now hear from you thoughts on what do you think of all this?
Bill, I've got a question for you, and it's regarding like that maybe even the fashion industry. As we know, like there's ill labor practices happening, sweatshops and all this. And of course, the robots are quite expensive. Do you feel maybe in the near future, as they advance with the production of the robots themselves, that maybe in those industries that have those ill productive practices such as sweatshops, do you think that that would be a new turn for the world to integrate these robots in these kind of industries?
This is it's already started. The main factory in China is let's see which one. Well, we got a couple of them out there, but uh, their main humanoid robot, which is comparable to Oculus and to figures robots, is now selling for $16,000. So when you think of $16,000 for something that's going to work 3 shifts a day, replacing 3 humans per day, so we can say it's a little bit more than $5,000 if you would. But the robot will probably work a couple of years, so we might be down to like $2,000 annual cost for a robot that would be able to replace that human worker. Uh, you could go to Bangladesh. I don't know if you can well, you're about, I guess, at the same price, but keep in mind that robot doesn't take breaks or anything else. And it's only going to get cheaper. I would expect that we might be looking at robots that are maybe the equivalent of an annual salary of maybe $100, probably within the next 1 to 2 years. Um, yes, Nijad.
Bill, I mean, excellent discussion, but I would like to ask, I mean, okay, I understand the development of technology, but that's logically, I mean, what about the human being? I mean, you are saying to replace the human being. I mean, we have enough problems economically and for the unemployment worldwide. And now also the robots went into the medical. They are doing medical operation, heart
Absolutely.
operation and other things. So, I mean, what mentioned also from other side also for the Judy husband about the education. I mean, for the young generation. Now, everybody easy, okay, GPT or go to AI or Google it or do something. I mean, in Sweden, the government, they stopped the student to have the laptop or to look to the computer in the school. You heard about it, I'm sure, They want them to go, as we used to do, to go to the books, encyclopedia, other things to read and search and do something. This is encourage the student, encourage the young generation. This is the creativity, this is the productivity which we needed. Now, I agree with you. I mean, you are from financially, okay, you are saving money. Uh, so many you are calculating. I mean, robots, I mean, costing $16,000. I mean, how many human beings you have to use? I mean, it's really, really. I mean, I'm with AI. We are in the same fellowship, but inside myself, in my heart, I mean, when I saw what's going on around the world, I mean, what is the role of the human being in the future?
No,
I
this is
mean,
very good. There's Yuval Harari. You probably have heard of him, the Israeli historian, right? Who's looked at the history of mankind and looking at where things are likely to be going. And many others. Bill Gates just 2 months ago predicted that within 10 years we won't need human teachers, we won't need human doctors. I was at a presentation by the business manager of the sixth largest hospital chain in the United States, who at the time predicted within 10 years they won't need hardly any human doctors. And In fact, I saw an article a few months back saying that within a couple of years, if humans are diagnosing people or are treating people, that will be considered malpractice because the human is just nowhere's able to be as capable. So when you go and pick your doctor, if there's a doctor there that is successful 98% of the time, and it's a robot doctor, and the human doctor's successful 70% of the time, which one are you going to go to? Right? So that's the one side. So if you're in a company and you started this company with the idea that, almost all companies are based on satisfying needs. There's somebody's got a need or a want out there, and if I can satisfy that need or want, they'll pay me, and I'm doing a service by providing whatever I'm providing out there, whether it's food or shelter or clothing or whatever. But the thing about it is I need to provide that to the greatest number of people. So I have to be constantly looking, how can I keep my costs low or lower my costs so that more people can take advantage of whatever I'm providing out there. So I didn't make the company to provide jobs. I made the company to satisfy a need out there. And this is where we run into the problem between society, the needs of the broader society, and the goals of a particular company. Now, there's some places out there that we created co-ops, agriculture co-ops, for the purpose of making sure all the people in our community have a job and we're sharing on the benefits of whatever we produce. I'm a member here, and Stephanie Schuler on the call is also a member of a group called the Commons Cluster of the NGO Major Group at the UN. And we're looking to say, okay, what's the model? We can see the writing on the wall that we're heading towards a post-labor economy. In other words, we're heading towards an era where human labor has no value. There's no value. That Yuval Harari has said the humans are becoming the useless class. And so, from an economic perspective, maybe that human doesn't have a future. But as the heads of almost all the technology companies are looking at, is saying, well, if we get to an era where AI and robots are producing everything we need. In other words, that we have all the food we need, we have all the clothing, the shelter, everything that everybody needs. There's no want. We've solved all the SDGs. There's no hunger, there's no poverty, there's no inequality, there's no lack of education, and so forth, because the AI and robots are providing everything. And that might be through a universal basic income or through sovereign funds where collectively we own all the resources of the world and the means of production, and everybody there's a dividend, all the profits and all these companies is shared as dividends among everybody on earth. That what that does is it means you no longer have to work for survival. Why should people have to work for survival what if their survival needs, if the Maslow hierarchy, the bottom layers are satisfied by AI and robotics, that frees humans up to pursue your passion. Maybe you wanted to do art, but you're not good enough at art, or you don't think you're good enough at art to earn a living, to be able to afford to buy the food and clothing and so forth. But if the clothing and food is provided, you're now free to say, okay, I've always wanted to do art. I've got the sense inside of me. I want to get this expression out. Or I want to be a dancer or a performer, play a musical instrument, or I want to be an inventor and experiment with things. You're going to be free to do all that. So this is a possibility, but it assumes that we have figured out how to share all the benefits of the AI and robotics. And the world has not been historically very good at sharing. But this is why we're trying to push at the UN to say, you guys not need to come up with a contingency plan now of how are we going to peacefully migrate from an economy that for tens of thousands of years has been based on the fruits of human labor to a world that is no longer based on the fruits of human labor. And
And
that's the
with the,
challenge.
yeah, but with the increasing of population worldwide, everywhere, and what we are seeing, watching now, is it the solution? Is the war to get rid of
Well,
people?
this is
I
this
mean,
is
we have to. I mean, what is the solution? I mean, you don't. I mean, AI or robots, they will not replace a human being. I don't think, from my point of view.
yeah,
I mean, how can we feed them? How can we educate these people? I
yeah.
mean,
Well,
population.
we're gonna get into that in a minute when we talk about seventh graders. We had the last couple of meetings that we had before Calgary. We actually presented some solutions on how do we prepare people for education? How do we prepare people to be lifelong learners? How do we prepare people to be independent learners, which is a prerequisite to become a lifelong learner? And so we looked into those things, and the main thing is we don't need to be teaching algebra anymore, and we don't need to be teaching history. We need to be teaching curiosity. We need to be getting people to be competent in their ability to learn anything with the assistance of AI or not. It doesn't make any difference. And confident in their ability to learn, because that's the biggest problem we have in most parts of the world right now is people don't think they're a good learner. They don't think that they can do school type work. And this is why by grade 5 you see so many people that give up on education because, oh no, I'm a more hands-on type. I'm not academically oriented. But that will go away. But we'll talk about that. But there is a challenge. The biggest challenge is what is the purpose of life for people? If they no longer, most people identify themselves with what they do, with their work, their occupation, and that is probably going to go away. And it's going to be a tough transition. And one of the biggest challenges we have why we've got to push the UN, why has it got to be the UN that we got to be pushing? If we don't do anything, you're going to have the countries in the Northern Hemisphere that have a relatively high per capita GDP. They're going to be able to afford to have a reasonably good universal basic income for all of their residents and citizens. But how about DR Congo? What are we going to do with these countries that have a per capita GDP of $1,000, $1,500?
Yeah.
Who's gonna make sure that they have an adequate basic income to survive? So we have to have a global solution. Why is it here that somebody who happened to be born on a piece of land that has oil under it, that they're saying, "Oh, it's mine," and the person that happened to be born on some piece of rocky mountaintop somewhere that can't even grow an ear of corn, sort of that's your tough luck. You should have been born somewhere else. So we've got to figure out. It's going to force us to address the issue of ownership, to say those resources that are out there in the world, shouldn't they belong to us collectively? The resources and the means of production, don't they have to belong to us? So we're going to have issues to deal with about things like capitalism and things like private ownership. Maybe we're going to be able to have a certain kind of private ownership, but it probably will not be unlimited that somebody can say, okay, our 1% of the population, we'll own 99% of everything, and the rest of you can share the 1%. We've been able to avoid having to face those issues. But AI is going to force us because the way it's going right now is fewer and fewer. All these companies that are doing the AI and robotics, take a look. They're not publicly traded companies. You can't go and buy the stock. They're keeping that stock internally. And if they did go, they're trying to go private. And so fewer and fewer people are owning all the AI and the robots. And we're going to have to, we got to face those issues. And too many
Yeah.
people are not aware of how quickly I'm trying to demonstrate some examples of how quickly things are going now. And like that one woman said, Julia McCoy's AI clone was saying that they're not even 2027. You know, there's a paper that came out, AI 2027, a couple of months ago, and everybody who was thinking here, oh, 1935 or 1940 or 2035, 2040, were saying, what? You know, 2030, okay, 2027 now? And now she's saying here, hey, a lot of it's going to start before the end of 2025, this year. So this is an issue. Franca, yes.
Sorry, I missed that
Oh,
last background noise. Just be mindful of time because I have to leave soon.
yes,
I definitely see AI as an equalizer when it comes to literacy if we can provide access.
yes.
It wouldn't matter where in the world. And that's really exciting. The question is how do we teach our children ethically how to do this while still encouraging creativity and higher executive functioning skills?
Yes. I think that's why we're looking here at the 7-year-olds and why we were looking at the 1 to 5-year-olds earlier. But I just wanted, because Franca's had her hand up. Frank, you want to say something?
Yes, but if Judy Allen has to leave, I'm very happy to give her some more space.
Okay, what I want to do here is just because Judy Allen was the impetus for today's meeting, I want to jump onto that issue of the of 7-year-olds. What can we do here for 7-year-olds? And then in the end, we can come back and talk about the overall direction because I think we started moving into, well, where's all this stuff taking us? But let's look specifically here at the issue. Hopefully, you've all had a chance to read the paper that I put out, and was just a brain dump here, real quick, of some ideas on what we can do. But for a 7-year-old, you typically a 7-year-old is not what do they call it? Self-motivated, self-driven on learning, for example. So how do we? How can AI really help a young person? I'm going to go very quickly into what we talked about for how can we equalize things for kids that are 1 to 5. And there's been studies made on showing that if you're from a working and welfare class family, that you typically by age 3 have heard 30 million, up to 30 million fewer words than somebody from a middle and upper class family where there's a lot of dialogue going on. Most of the kids in the working and welfare class family, they only hear orders. Don't touch that. Do this. Don't do that. And but they don't have rich conversations. And so they by the time they start kindergarten or first grade, they're up to 1 to 2 years, no, up to 2 years behind in mental maturity and verbal vocabulary. So we looked at what could AI do to equalize that. And what we see, and there's a video, I didn't get a chance to look at it on Amazon Alexa Plus that they just upgraded the artificial intelligence aspect of that, and we've been looking and waiting for that now for almost a year because imagine this, you've got your 31 or 21-inch screen or 30-inch screen on the wall in a room where there's a bunch of kids, and instead of going and in a poor family with 4 or 5 kids and sitting them in front of a TV that's just a one-way thing that we know they don't really learn from, that you now are sitting them in front of a screen where there's an avatar in the screen that actually is interacting with them. So, we know that one of the most valuable things that parents can do with young children is just read to them. Just read to them so that they are starting to get a deeper and deeper understanding of what words mean, and are able to have images in their head formed based on words they're hearing. But we know in the working in welfare class families that there's many of them that are migration backgrounds where they don't speak the language that is taught in the schools. Or if we take a look in Pakistan, for example, and I see Sishan is with us, is that they speak many different languages locally. And then when they get to school, they've got to be eventually converted over to Urdu. And there's a lot of loss there. And we know in a lot of developing countries, what happens is that when the kids in the first 1 or 2 years are not successful, it becomes very frustrating, and they quit school that at a very high rate. And we see that especially in sub-Saharan Africa, where you've got countries like Uganda, where I think they speak 27 different languages. These tools, by speaking to the children, but not just speaking to the child or reading to the child, they're reading to the child and then say, "Hey, Johnny, what do you think should happen next?" Or uh, what? Let's make up a story of our own. Sally, you start us off. Where do you think this story should take place? So we're getting kids that they're really understanding the verbal vocabulary, both from a listening perspective, but also to formulate ideas and be able to speak. And so by the time the kids get to kindergarten or first grade, that first going into a formal education setting, they're equal to kids that have had the luxury of going to elite private preschools. And this is a huge factor. We see in the United States that maybe is the biggest difference between schools that, for example, in the top 10% of primary schools in New Jersey, we got 92% of the kids are at grade level. But in the bottom 10% of schools, it's less than 6%. Now, most of that is because if you start school and you're 2 years behind in verbal vocabulary, and we try to teach you to pronounce a combination of letters on the assumption that if you hear the word, you know what it means. But if you're one of those kids that don't know what it means, that's not going to help you. And so we saw that by having AI with the ability to see what's going on with the kids in front of it, hear what's going on, uh, interact both directions, and be a combination of a governess. Johnny, leave your sister alone. Don't be bothering your sister. Or, hey, uh, Paul and Frank, when you guys work together on this idea. So what we're able to then have that conversational aspect and go all day long. And we're able to go that AI, if there's 20 kids in the room, it's able to keep track of all 20 kids second by second, which a human teacher can't do. Human teacher can look at one or the other. And we're short 40 million teachers in the world. So the idea that we're going to be able to provide all the disadvantaged communities around the world with qualified teachers is just not realistic. Anyway, so this is what we saw, that we can close this preparation gap so that by the time the children are going into first grade, they're caught up. Now, for most of the world, that's about age 6. So by age 7, they're just really getting a little bit solidified in their reading capability and numeracy capabilities. So what can we do there with AI for the kids in school, but not only in school, just in general? So
Well, if I could just interject for a
yes.
second, Judy and her 7-year-old, I don't know if it's her eldest, but I just wanted to say right now I'm completing my doctorate in education, and it's focused on language-based learning disabilities and the disability model that we live in society. And I hope somehow that through this process of literacy and being able to really know every single child's capabilities, abilities, growing abilities, that we could figure out a way how not to have a disability model, but look at an ability model and not affect social, emotional well-being of children that represents at least 20% of the population who have literacy based learning issues, how not to affect their self-esteem and and not to label.
Yeah.
Because often, someone said, how do we get AI to address corruption? So many of these kids end up, it's called the school to jail pipeline, because they don't have literacy. So how do we, and we know that more than 50% of youth around the world globally have mental health issues. A lot of it stemming from the treatment in school, like not
Absolutely.
to read, and also being labeled as that, and the fallout, social fallout, self-esteem, the self-fulfilling prophecy. So from my perspective, I have to put my 2 cents in and say, how do we figure out how to not affect psyche of children negatively?
Yeah. Better on that is, how do we affect it positively? So
Correct.
if we take a look here, I spent 3 years traveling around the US visiting schools just to try to understand what the difference was. Why are the schools in as bad a shape as they are in certain areas in the States? And I visited schools in Missouri, Texas, Georgia, and pretty much every state from Washington, D.C. northeast. And the reason for that is my kids grew up in their early education in Europe. And I was in the faculty town of Purdue University, which is one of the highest rated school districts in the country. And my son, at age 12, just a couple of months after starting school there, comes home and he says, I'm doing the same math I had 3 years earlier in Germany. So that's part of why I got into education and started looking at what was going on with education everywhere. So, but the main thing here, I mean, our education systems have a huge problem because it was designed hundreds of years ago and we've never changed the model. But we now have the capability to really individualize learning and personalize, pay attention to the needs of the individual student, which is not possible with in the US, maybe a teacher, a 25-to-1 student teacher ratio. But if you get into other parts of the world where we've got 60, 70-to-1 student teacher ratio, it's even more problematic. But let's go and look here, because I think when we go and look at the 7-year-olds, it's one thing if we were to look at 10-year-olds, a totally different ball game there, even though they may have the same weaknesses that a 7-year-old have. They have the self-direction ability, the ability to learn self-direction much more than a 7-year-old typically would have. So I just dumped here and I put it on the screen. I hope you can all see it. The paper that I suggested you read that talked a little bit about some of the things that maybe could be useful with regards to a 7-year-old. And the one of the issues here is you can push out knowledge and information. We can have the AI reading to the students, giving them lectures and things like that. But every interaction, you when you meet somebody, you got a new assistant wherever you're working or a colleague or whatnot, and you formulate ideas pretty quick. Does this new colleague, what do they know? What are they capable of doing, and so forth. And that flavors how you interact with that person if you want to be effective in collaborating and so forth. So some of the examples here in the middle of the page. Let me see. Let me increase the size. Okay. Okay. So hopefully you can read that better now. So examples, and again, this is just a brain dump. So I'm really depending on you guys for adding to this list here. But some examples of how AI might be able to help is the AI in just conversation can evaluate on an ongoing, continual basis the child's literacy skills, both their verbal language comprehension and their speaking. Are they speaking in complete sentences? Is grammatically correct? And does it show that they really understood what was spoken to them? It could really be continually evaluating. And based on that evaluation, it can determine here and adjust the way it interacts with that child. Now, that's something we adults do, as I say, normally with people we meet. We get to realize here, this is why sometimes it seems a little funny if you're traveling in a foreign country and you see somebody trying to speak to somebody in that language and they don't really understand that language. Sometimes you'll see them start to pick up an effect of almost like an accent when they're trying to communicate with the people in that language because they think that's going to be more effective. But I think this could be a huge benefit, and it's a side piece. It's not the main piece. It's just the side piece of the communication between the AI and the child that it's able to pick up on that. And it doesn't even have to be the interaction with the child. If the AI is watching in the room and the parent and the child are talking, or two children are talking to each other, it's going to be able to evaluate the language verbal language comprehension and speaking just from observing what that child's doing. The same can apply to reading skills. You can have reading exercises and so forth, and you're able to judge, okay, uh, how well is their comprehension in reading comprehension, and and eventually this is going to be able to go over into their creativity when they write something. And how effective are they as a communicator in writing? We already had that evaluation up in the speaking part for verbal, let's say, but now we can come in and say, okay, how effective is this child in their ability to get ideas across in writing? And the AI can generate little examples and say, let's pretend we're doing this and let's write a note to somebody or write a note to ourselves or record some notes of what we're hearing other people say. So we have all those, and we could do that for the critical thinking capabilities, for curiosity, because we talked about going forward, one of the main missions of education has to be to get children to really trust their curiosity, to think it's not a waste of time to be curious or to go off topic sometimes and just, we always say think out of the box, right? We always want to look for people who can think outside the box. And that gets into the curiosity. We want young people not to just see the sky is blue and well, the sky's blue, so but be curious, why is it blue? And so that they start to question everything. And AI can really help young people, if the AI is your companion, to be constantly encouraging young people to question everything and be curious about everything. We can do that same thing for evaluating empathy. We just watch the kids playing with one another, or we watch how they react to things, and we can judge their empathy. We can judge their collaboration skills, working together with others, their communication skills. And then we can also be evaluating their general knowledge of geography, of things in general, how things work, and so forth. So my thought is here, this could be done with storytelling, or if there's some blocks on the table, and obviously the AI can't move the blocks, but it can be telling the child here, oh, how do you think how high can you pile the blocks, or what do you think you can do with this? So again, the main thing here is we can develop the AI so that its primary mission is to pique the curiosity of kids and give kids the sense of I can do it, a can-do attitude. So, and then I sort of put in uh, showing them how they can use AI, not just here. Well, if we're moving towards a world where there's only going to be a voice interface to all the AI tools and everything, where you just talk to your device about whatever, uh, we can have young people starting to have the be the questioners, having the people with all the questions. Right. The thing in education that I learned, it's much more valuable to have a question than to have an answer. And to be able to show young people that just have them constantly curious. And so if we have young people who really feel confident in that, that they say, hey, I know how to ask to find out anything. These would be some of the things that we could do. And along the way, we could show them how to generate images by asking for the image, by asking for the image to be modified and tweaking the images, to do songs and music with things like Suno and Udio, making videos with Vio and all the other tools that, I mean, there's like a dozen tools. VO comes out and can do something, and now we got a dozen tools that are doing the same thing. Presentations, how to make a PowerPoint presentation here that's really effective. Write poems, whatever. And keep in mind, this is not a question here of having every child um, feel I have to roll up my sleeves and do everything myself. We have to remember the great masters like Michelangelo and Da Vinci and people like this. They didn't do all the work themselves. They had armies of apprentices. But what they did is they had the vision. And what we have to start off with was we have to get young people, people of all ages actually, to feel confident in their visions, that they can have a vision of something and then be figuring out, okay, what does it take to make that? And maybe they're chatting to a friend that a human friend that's walking with them and they're chatting. I wonder how we could do that. And that would be interesting. But it may be an AI friend they're chatting with too, about the same thing. The main thing is that people don't give up on their having ideas. That's I think the main thing before AI replaces us everywhere. Humans have to have the confidence in their ability as thinkers and dreamers and visionaries. That's sort of my general thought. Okay, so this was examples, and now I'm interested here on A, what you think of these examples, but B, what are other ideas that we might have on this? Yes, Kurt.
Well, I'm excited to be able to have met you and hugged you and seen you and talked with you and turned you
Even
on to
though it was
David
only five
Gershon.
minutes.
Listen, time is irrelevant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Holy schmoly macaroni. And I hope you keep the contact with David Gershon and a few of the others that you got to meet and everything. It was a dynamo kind of a conference, and I so enjoyed it. And
Yeah, you weren't here at the
you mentioned about
beginning.
vision, and that's the most important thing that I think anybody needs to have. Because, one of the world scriptures says, a man without vision shall perish. Well, the scripture actually should say, a person without vision shall perish. And we're not going to perish because we have a vision. But who has it written down? Again, one of the other world scriptures also said begins within the beginning was the word. And without the word, how can we create? When JFK said we're going to go to the moon within 10 years, holy schmoly, did he know how to do that? No. He had that vision.
Well, that's
And
what
it
he
gave
said.
so many people.
Just a couple of sentences after he said we're going to put a man on the moon in 10 years, he says, we don't yet know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it anyway. And that idea here, the two things that actually I think are very valuable that I didn't put into this list is people learn most through mistakes. And
Oh,
so
yes,
we have to
understand.
encourage people to not be afraid, not be cautious. And this is unfortunately one of the things as we get older and we start and we fail at things. Then we and our whole school system teaches you don't fail. Failure is bad. And as a result, we share away from risk. We or shy away from risk. We avoid risk. And as a result, those if we look at the most successful people, they're usually people that have taken a lot of risk. And when you think of Thomas Edison and designing the light bulb, and everybody said this guy he's terrible. He makes thousands of mistakes. And his point was, no, I'm just eliminating all the ways that don't work to get closer to what does work.
Yeah.
And we've got to get our young people to feel confident that hey, it's okay to make a mistake as long as you go and evaluate, is it a mistake that's going to kill me, or is it just a mistake that's going to delay me or result in my not getting some gratification that I was seeking. So we'll get into that. Franca, yes, you want to add?
I was wondering how I can, maybe take a step back. One of the ways I've learned how to use AI, I'm curious to actually apply that, is to create that avatar, a clone of myself. And you said that at some point the entire AI was going to be on board the iOS, I think it was, or possibly other operating systems as well. How, in the meantime, can I actually play with any AI like that without my data being made available or trace backable to me? Is there a way?
Yes, there is. There's quite a number of open source and large language models that you can actually install on a local laptop. They have very differing amounts of memory and compute power that it takes, but a lot of them will run on a pretty standard laptop, something maybe with about 16 gig of memory and at least an i7 or equivalent CPU, let's say, and a GPU, because AI is mostly a GPU. But what's changing is the new generation of laptops and things are coming out. They're AI ready. So if you've got Apple, if it's got an M chip, or if you've got Google is presenting their Tesla or Taser or something like that chip that's AI and uh, um, you've got Microsoft coming out with their Copilot CPUs or that basically Windows is getting Copilot built into it. So there's a lot of that stuff coming along. So you can put your on your local computer and you can do everything there. Now there's pluses and minuses of this, because some people are saying, okay, I want to use it for medical. I want to get a good medical diagnosis and things. We have to share data to be able to do that because we want to compare our medical situation against hundreds of thousands of other medical cases to be able to find out what worked and what didn't work. So privacy we've got to be a little careful. There's some people that I think are oversensitive to with the privacy factor, but there are other cases where, it depends on what country you live in the world that maybe you don't want certain people knowing your opinions about everything because they don't want people who have different opinions. So you want to be a little careful in those things. But anyway, the open source variants will support that. And then as we saw with what's happening with the robotics, where they're putting everything on device. So it's to minimize the latency of response. They don't want to have to go out to the cloud, get an answer, and come back and then translate it to you. So we see that movement. And the new chip series and things like this, what NVIDIA is doing, they're coming up with about 1,000-fold increase in the capability or a reduction, for example, in the power and the models. This started off with DeepSeek from China and the idea of distilling. So instead of going and saying, okay, we got to go against the whole universe of data in the world, that more and more we're going to distill out of that what's the relevant data for a lot of directions. So we're going to see a lot more small language models that are focused on medical, let's say, or focused on different areas. So the amount of data that's got to be culled through for any answer will become less and less and less. And that will be able to make more things to be available to just run locally. So I don't know if that fully answers the question, but that's sort of where we're at.
Yeah, I hear you don't have those concerns all too much.
Mhm.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I might have I'm mobile first, so I would probably have to wait for that an iPhone to come out or something.
Well,
Or
I have a Pixel and a Google Pixel phone, and I'm anticipating that the Pixel will have a self-contained AI. If it's not this fall's model, it will be next year's model. That I'm pretty sure that it will be self-contained at least for 90% of what you do. There's always going to be, if you want the latest information. It's like with ChatGPT, one of the big complaints we had early on is it had cutoff. It was only trained up to a certain date. And so you had, if something happened in the last year, it didn't know about it. You could get older information. And then they added the ability to say, okay, I need the up-to-date information. So it actually does two searches. Usually because the training got cut off at a certain point. So what they'll usually do, and I built an enterprise system and we used the same technique. We would say, okay, here we would go at night or on a weekend night, and we would update all of our databases. But we would have, in addition to the long-term data that was all parsed and analyzed and categorized, we had what's going on currently up until we move that data over, and we would search both. So we would go through the huge data, which was all very structured, and so we could access it quickly. And then we had a small database that was not structured yet of current data, and we would go through that separately and then merge those two results. And that's what they've been doing here for the last year and a half, I would say, at least, on all the major players, where you can select, I want web search, and it does both. Then it goes out and searches the training data, and then it goes and searches the current data. Yes, Judy on.
I'm trying to put all this together and thinking about teaching children in general. And I'm thinking about ChatGPT and Notebook LM. How do I combine that to say create an avatar of myself to teach my child? Because if I create it myself, I've automatically introduced the attachment, the level of safety of what they're learning
Yes.
from. But how do I ensure that what she's being taught also takes into account my ethics and I mean, I guess I could prompt that with ChatGPT, but I think that there's a huge reliance on or importance that parents need to be learning and taking the initiative on encouraging creativity, on encouraging curiosity. When you started talking, she heard the words curiosity and empathy and said, with empathy. So I explained it, and she's like, "Oh, that's when I also know what it's like to be a new student." And I helped this friend that came in, and she felt new, and we got together, and that's empathy. And I was like, "That's a great example." So she asked the questions, and she says, "I am curious because I'm a watcher," and she knows she's a watcher because I told her that. She watches for a long time, and then she runs with it. So she loves being curious. So she got the concepts. Now, how do I take an avatar of me so that there's an element of safety to teach her a language over the summer, to teach her more literacy over the summer?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, oh, hold on. I have to share another screen here. I hope I can find this one now.
I also just wanted to quickly add, I really like the importance of children teaching children, but also parents. It's another thing to monitor for safety as well.
Uh, yes.
Nature teaching children too, and that's an important thing. And most people don't
Absolutely.
realize that when we take kids out into nature and say, "What do you see there?" have you seen that trapdoor spider? And they have to really look.
Yes, yes, we just did that. We were in the Badlands yesterday on a tour. She's like,
Oh,
look, the
you were so
Badlands,
lucky.
everything's dead. I'm like, is it? Let's take a closer look. We found ant holes, we found snake holes, we found, I'm in biology, so I love science and I love observing nature. I'm really big on that. And
Tamsin Willie Barker, you will die and go to heaven when you tap into what she has. Tamsin is an archaeologist, anthropologist, zoologist. I mean, she's biologist, whatever. She's got a place down near the Anza Desert in California, just outside it, and she brings people into this incredible space, and they all come alive, and you are that nature. It's we have a beautiful presentation on Humanity Rising on biomimicry.
Mhm.
If you want, I can send you well, actually, I put into the chat a source that has all of the stuff that I pretty much share online, dealing with either education or what I just said about the
biomimicry.
biodynamics and so on. And like, who knows about Rudolf Steiner's work in biodynamics and so on? Yeah,
Thank you for the resource.
yeah.
Okay, so here I hope you can see my screen. It says interactive avatar walkthrough with live Q&A. You see that? Okay, so what this is from HeyGen. And they're announcing that on July 23rd, Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, they are going to have they're introducing their live interactive avatar. Now, HeyGen already has the capability. You can go and you can just take a short video of yourself walking around and maybe talking and or sitting at a chair or whatever, or just take a photo from yourself and it will turn it into an avatar. So you could go and say, "Oh, I want to teach my child this lesson, and I'm going to record tonight what I wanted to say. This is what I wanted to say," and I upload a picture of myself, and it will make a video of me explaining that thing to whoever. But the thing that really gets excited is when you're able to talk to the avatar and have it answer you. This is what we were describing with the child, the early childhood. And what you're seeing here now is this is going to be a demo of an avatar that you can make, which can be yourself, that you're going to be able to talk to and have a two-way conversation with. Now, if you can marry that, we see with ChatGPT projects or with Notebook LM, the one of the things you want to be able to do is you want to be able to curate the body of knowledge. You don't want people to be able to go out there and get into all kinds of stuff you don't want them to be listening to or going into. So, to the degree that we're going to be able to curate the data that your answers are going to come from, so that you're talking with the child, but that you have put custom instructions in there that say, okay, I want my answers to always include these types of things, and I want it to exclude these kind of things, which you can put, for example, in the custom instructions if you use ChatGPT projects, or what's the new one? I know you can do it with Claude, but with Perplexity, you've got a capability of doing that. And I haven't looked at it, but and because I've been pretty frustrated with Microsoft and their Copilot. It seems like they're always way behind. But I think it's more of a question that they're focused on simply business and not the general public interface so much. But
You know what else I think is key, and I think Judy said it. We talk about that our current education system is archaic. The
right.
Schoolhouse model, artificial air, artificial light. Judy took her child to the Badlands. I'm from Calgary, so I'm familiar with that, though I'm based in Toronto. We've got this amazing planet, and many schools are within blocks of ravines and amazing parks, whatnot, yet the children don't get to be immersed in spaces because the parents are working and we're sitting in these schoolhouses. So to be able, I would, as an education reformer, I would hope that the next era of schooling somehow will be able to bridge the digital spaces and the non-digital spaces for the kids, because we know how impactful negatively digital devices affect the brains of all of us, but especially the developing brain. So how we could take the assessment tools and the next step tools for learning, put the tools aside, and immerse in spaces like the Badlands, the parks that are in our neighborhoods and whatnot, and take the kids into these natural spaces and our communities into natural spaces that we know physiologically improve our mental health and well-being, and you can play and engage with other community members and children rather than playing and engaging just with a digital device.
The Finland went very big in that direction. The Finnish school system, and if you're looking into education, you should really take a look at the Finnish school system. It really is based on play and a lot of physical activities, the motor skills and so forth. But the two of them can go together very well. If we look in Austin, Texas, there's a school called the Alpha School. It's totally, they replaced all the human teachers with AI teachers. And they've jumped into the top 4% of schools in the country. Now, at first glance, that says, "Oh, that's horrible." They're saying here, you know what? The humans are useless now. Let's just avoid humans, and the world will be a better place. But in reality, what they did is by having the academics parts be AI, they were able to reduce the amount of the day that's devoted to academics to 2 hours. And now they're able to take the rest of the day and they get involved with arts and sports and projects and whatever your passion is about, working together with the other kids doing projects. And I think this is the way to go. Really, we need, yes. Well, one of the things that we're going to see, I predict that in not too distant future, at least as far as academics go, school's going to end around sixth grade, around age 12 or so, because you will have learned to be such an independent learner and be confident in your ability to learn anything at any time, in real time, basically, as you need it. So the rest, it'll be maybe time for practice and doing things, but we don't need to focus on academics because you're already a lifelong learner by that point. Yes, Kurt.
Basically, we had a PE program at Van Nuys Middle School that stressed character, play, and games that they learn to be physically fit, although it's all through games. And for instance, we didn't have normal PE in regard to having just sports taught because everybody, knows basketball and baseball and all that, and they've played it. But who knows about ultimate frisbee kind of a thing? It's a game. There's also frisbee golf. And I had designed a labyrinth which people can use as a trust walk, as an agility drill, as all kinds of different ways. Mathematically, you can say how much is this area and how is the length of this path, and so on and so forth. It was all interdisciplinary, and it all depended on the way you looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
It all depended on the way you treated it, because the world is as we see it. We can see it with open eyes or closed eyes, and whatever way we choose to. And we like to open the eyes. We like to open the hearts of people, because that's the most valuable thing to open, because the head is not the thing that needs to guide us. We've gotten to hell and back, and not quite back yet from hell because of this.
Well,
We
I think
forgot
here, if
about the heart.
I think.
I have a question for you, Bill. Can I jump in?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been listening to you for quite a while now, and always something new to learn. But there is one thing that I'm always, uh, thinking about when I listen to such talks, and that is that I'm teaching at a university, and I come across students of different kind, and I don't know what kind of students we have. Maybe it's a developing nations problem, not over there in the developed countries, that more and more students, more and more children are less and less inclined to learn.
Yeah.
You have here an AI based system coming up where they can learn so much in a matter of, what, for
Mm. Okay, I think we lost Farhan. Yeah, I can relate to this. When I left industry and joined the faculty at Purdue University, and not coming from an
and
education.
TikToks
Oh, here he's back.
and these things, not from education, though that old mantra that we were taught that there is no shortcut to success has been in fact shattered by when I have a student in my class who makes 3 times my pay by doing digital work online.
Yeah.
And he is telling all his class fellows that this university degree is not going to earn you anything. It may be, get you a good standard status in the society, and that's it. So in my class, there are not more than 20% students who are really willing to learn, who are really willing to put down hours in studying the material that I am teaching them. So what is the remedy to that?
Yeah,
Where will AI come in there?
yeah, as I was saying here, because I thought we had lost you there for a minute, but I left industry after building up a multinational, fairly large multinational company, and I joined the faculty at Purdue University. I basically got tricked into joining because I went to complain about the graduates because that I wanted to hire, and they were building a new school of technology, and at any rate, I ended up agreeing to give him 2 years. So the first day I didn't know really what I was doing. So I went out and I found a book, a textbook on the subject. I was responsible for the data management course sequence at the university. And so I go into class with my textbook that I selected and I said, okay, this is what we're going to do for the semester. But getting started, I said, okay, to break the ice, what do you guys want out of this class? So I asked, what do you want? And nobody said anything. And then finally somebody said an A. And I understood. They really weren't interested in the knowledge. They just wanted to get something that's going to impact their grade point average. So the second class day, I came in with a box of about 15 books on the subject. And I said, here's what we're going to do for the semester. You're going to read all these books, as many as you need, and you're going to write your own book. And so all my undergraduates ended up writing books. Now, at first, that was not very popular because they were spending a lot of time doing that. But when the time came to go get jobs, and you go into an interview and hey, what do you know about this? Oh, well, not too much, but here's the book I wrote on it. You're in a different category. And so they were successful. But this is the number one problem of our entire education system. We train our students that the only thing that counts is handing in your homework, having your homework done. So if somebody else does it for you, that's great. Or handing in essays or passing a test here. And whether you remember the information on the next day is who cares? Right? Because you're looking only at satisfying this request of the education system and not looking at here your learning. And that's the main thing that we have to change. I want to go back to what Kurt was talking about on character development, because AI can be observing the character. It can be recognizing how ethical, how empathetic are you to various situations. It can be looking at the way you interact with the other kids or with each the adults and so forth, and get a sense for where you are in developing your character. So we can put values in and say, hey, these are major key values, because that's a lot of what education is about, is preparing people to become good citizens in our society, and a lot of that is character, right? Learn to be truthful, learn to be honest, and so forth. So AI can really do a great job on that, because it can be watching your development, because a lot of people will say, "Oh, how honest I am and how ethical I am," and then if, as long as is anybody looking, nobody's looking, I'm going to grab that $10 bill on the floor and put it in my pocket, right? This is really an opportunity, because human teachers can't be that observant and that engaged with each individual student the way AI can. So it's really a great opportunity. And we take those human teachers and take them out of the instructional role, take them out of the assessment role, and put them into the mentor coach role. Because, almost every one of us can remember some teacher who really influenced our life. They really did. But it is very rare that we remember them because they were good in algebra, or they were good in presenting something, but because they took an interest in us. They took an interest in our problems, in our lives, and in motivating us. And this is what so many teachers today complain about, is they don't have the time anymore, because there's so much grading and bureaucratic and record keeping and all these types of things that are eating up all their time, or planning for their to give lectures. There's a thing called flipped classroom. It's been around for about 10 years or so now. And the idea is that teachers record their lectures, and then the students watch the lectures at night and do their homework in the classroom. Because the problem that we've had in the past is that we go and give the lecture during the class time, and then the kid goes home, and they're supposed to learn to practice doing it themselves. But if they run into trouble, there's nobody to ask. And so they don't do anything and come to class the next day. They really have not mastered that material. But if you watch the lecture or read the chapter before you come to class, and then in class, the teacher's there and then do the homework. And then the teacher's able to go around and see who's having problems and who's not. And we get everybody up to speed. So that's called the flipped classroom. But the idea then came, and the North Carolina State University is one of the leading in teaching teachers how to create these flipped classroom videos. But one of the things that I began to say is, you know what? We got millions of teachers out there. Why are we asking millions of teachers to all redundantly record the same lectures? There's no way that everybody is equally good at creating explaining things. So now you're seeing publishers like Pearson and McGraw-Hill, and that publish these textbooks. They're all creating the lecture, or the video segments, tutorials to go with their textbooks. And they go and they have a whole professional team, and they got psychologists that are figuring out the best way to present stuff. Why would a teacher want to compete with all that? So if we can say, okay, you know what? The teacher only needs to curate and say, what are the best lectures for the class? And then go and assign the class, watch the lectures, and they can do that thing. But now we're getting into the stage, if that's the case, we've got the teacher out of the instruction mode. So the next thing here is, why did we have teachers going and creating quizzes and tests? That should be to demonstrate mastery. One of the things we realize, the number one deficiency of our education system, is that it is time-based and not mastery-based. So if you're a student and you got sick a couple of days, or you had problems at home, or whatever it was, and you missed a couple of days class, or the teacher, you just didn't get what the teacher was saying on a particular day, you weren't feeling good, and you just fall further and further behind. So we see by the time a child's got the number of years, they got all these holes in their education. And then so we see there's a teacher, his name is Tim Vandenberg, I think. I think he's in Los Angeles School District. He's a sixth grade math teacher, and in his one of the worst schools in the state of California. And LA County's got a lot of them, but his is one of the worst even there. And almost every one of his students in sixth grade failed fifth grade math. And but you got to fail a couple of subjects to stay behind. So he ends up with all these kids that, are oftentimes only at a second or third grade level in terms of their proficiency, and yet he's got these kids coming out of sixth grade among the highest in the state of California. So how did he take all these kids that were 2, 3, 4 years behind and getting them to where they were among the best in the state in 1 year? What he did is he sent them all back to kindergarten. He used Khan Academy and said, okay, you just work your way through the 500 or so learning units and master each one, and you plug all the holes, all the stuff you missed, you plug those so that you're at the equivalent of a 95% level by the time, as you go from grade to grade to grade, you're rock solid in that kind of stuff. And we know Stephanie was talking about the mental illness in schools. And what I saw when I was traveling around, I spoke to the better part of 1,000 educators during those 3 years, was that the schools are causing a lot of the mental illness because we do high stakes testing. Totally not need. It's only needed because we're calendar driven. We don't care, you're in fourth grade because you're completed you sat in a chair for 3 years. That's why you're in fourth grade. But we need to, if we go mastery based, so the kids have the confidence and they don't just have 3 years of history of you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And that trains them to believe they're not capable. We need to say, for example, let's say the final exam, you should be able to take it when you think you're ready. And if you fail, you should be able to go and sign up to figure out how long you're going to need to fill the gaps that you might have, bone up on those parts, and then go and apply to retake the test. The test should be given every week or every month. Why should you have to repeat a whole year because you missed 20% of the material? So, and this is some of the things that in our club, the Dare to Be Great Club, we actually have projects that are aimed at getting the education system worldwide to make these changes. Because unfortunately, a lot of developing countries, they're copying developed countries whose education systems are totally screwed up and no longer applicable. Anyway, so yes, Judy.
I preach into the choir with the education system. I was loving everything about that. Character, that's a really interesting point. My favorite professor taught me so much about character and ethics and how to be a better human being, not just plant pathology. And it really, really changed the course of my life to the point where he played the saxophone at our wedding and his wife was a minister and she married us. Like it matters how connected you are. And it goes so far beyond education if you seek that. So the question is, why did I seek that out of people and not just take info given to me? I wanted more than that. How do I teach my kid to want more? And that's the curiosity. That's the higher executive functioning skills. Yeah. So I just wanted to, I really, really agree with what you say about the education system.
And sorry, I'd like to add in terms of the other gentleman talking about education and teaching his students. I'm on the other side where I'm hiring students. And one of the things that I've done with students, and I've also managed teams in India in my past. And one of the things that have been a failure points in any students, whether depending on countries and stuff like that, is the lack of imagination and taking ownership to explore that imagination to go beyond just A plus B equals C.
Yeah.
Right. that's something that AI will replace, actually is replacing. And then on my end, last year I was tasked with developing a learning framework for my team, my organization nationally. And instead of going through the books and identifying, I utilized ChatGPT and asked them, okay, for each of the level, analyst, senior analyst, manager, senior manager, director, all the way up to partner, which is my level, I like to break down in terms of uh, what should the individuals need to learn in terms of emotional quotient, social quotient, adversity quotient, and also the legal mind, right? In reflection to the policy, because each one of those are the ones that lead to executive functions, not the what you know. And then when it broke down in terms of the combination of those to talk about how do you work as a team, the interactions, how do you work with your clients, how do you build up those skills to right, and what are those combinations that build up leadership, and then it's like from the analyst, which is right out of school, all the way to partner. We're looking at systemic national implementation of policies, cultures, and vision. So it is very powerful because within the framework, the ideation I was talking about earlier, to tell GPT this is the output of what I want. And then I went through literally 6 iterations with it, take the pieces I need, and then amass it together, and then reutilize that knowledge to retrain the GPT and output what I wanted at the end. Present this to my national leaders, right? And then we went ahead and implement my system. And with that, we got people who have been new to organization within 3 months, got up to speed to start to be productive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's so many ways. And one of the things here, I think, even for young children, is you may have heard of the Feynman technique, which is, uh, one of the best ways to learn something is to try to teach it to somebody else, try to explain it to somebody else. And that's the Feynman technique. And so this you can do this great with AI. AI can pretend to be the student and say, please, you explain it to me. You tell me, and then be able to evaluate how well that person understands the material and is able to communicate it, and then work to improve it. Some of the areas that are really coming good is foreign language learning, where the AI is you're able to communicate, it's able to judge where's your level of competency in the foreign language, and both in speaking and correcting, and be able to correct you in a way that doesn't turn you off. It's basically immersing you in the language, and it can do it in a very fun way. Well, we can do the same thing for everything, whether it's emotional intelligence, for example. A lot of people don't realize, we see, oh, okay, AI learned to beat humans in chess and beat humans even in Go. But a lot of people don't realize is that AI has also beat the world's best poker players. And poker player is all about reading people's emotions and thinking. Um, One other thing I'll just mention, and we're over 3 hours into the meeting again, so we got to bring this to an end. Is the studies that are going on there's two areas that are really going to be important. One is that we are on schedule um, to hit a longevity escape velocity. That is where human life expectancy grows by more than a year each year, which essentially means that humans that are able to take advantage of what's making that possible become immortal, at least immortal from the perspective of old age. And on top of that, this is the studies that they're doing. Um, Aging, it turns out, is a disease. It's not a natural thing. It's what happens is every cell in our body replaces itself about 7 times in the average lifetime. And as these cells reproduce, unfortunately, there's a certain error rate that your cells reproduce incorrectly, and then they become damaged and weak and so forth. And that's what ages us. And the experimentations that they're doing is able to take stem cells and use that to essentially reverse it, because it's taking the cell that reproduced wrong and causing it on its next iteration to go back to where it should have been in the first place. So there's a feeling that probably within 10 years, if you're young enough when it gets started, or can afford it, who knows? I don't know what that conditions are going to be. Everybody might be able to go back to age 30 and live their whole 10,000 years at age 30. Of course, don't know what we're going to do with population growth, but different issue. Anyway, that's one interesting thing. 2029 is now, they're saying they were up in the 2040s, the estimate when that will be achieved. But they're now saying they're on target for 2029. Kurt, yes.
Well, I put into the chat this idea about the quality of life. We focus on all this stuff, aging and being able to not age and so on and so forth. When we create the quality of life that everybody can thrive as nature does, we will be able to live longer, not just because we've got technology. It's because we have that inner resonance along with the rest of life. And we're able to communicate with any and all of life when we are in such a state. There are higher states of being than most people realize, especially the way our education system is. I should say indoctrination system. We know there's a better way with the education, and we are creating it along with maybe AI. But again, the big point that is also important, I just got up and moved this body. Why did I do that? Because we are not made to sit so frickin' long and gaze at something so far away that that's it. I get to be able to view a nice canyon that's called St. Bartholomew's Canyon in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. And I have nature in front of me. And if I look to the left, I get to be able to see smog down in the valley. I'm above it right now. Get out into nature, be part of nature, experience life in its fullest, can move this body. So the meditation practice that we teach is incorporating the body, minds, emotions, and spirit. Without the emotions, we don't get into motion. We are only motivated by such things. When this beautiful woman who I see on screen live, Judy, is able to pick up a car when she sees her child pinned underneath it and pull the child from underneath it. She's able to. Will she? She may be a screamer. She may scream bloody murder and want somebody to come help. Others will pick up the car. It depends on our propensity and the thing that has been ingrained in ourselves from our education, or in my case, when I picked up a car after a swim workout, I had been exhausted from the swim workout, but there was a reason I picked up the car and was able to do it. I didn't think about it. I just did it.
Yeah.
Because thinking is what gets us caught from behind, as O.J. Simpson said, who was a great football player in America. And he did get caught from behind in the end.
Yeah. There's one other thing I do want to mention here before leaving. I was just looking for a picture I thought you would appreciate here when you talked about nature. In my backyard, while I was in Calgary, my wife sent a picture here of a doe with two kits in our backyard. Some reason here, deer like to give birth to their young in my backyard for some reason. So we've had as many as 13 deer at a time here, and it's a relatively small backyard, but it's protected on all sides by large arborvitae. So you feel like there's nothing around us. One last point here. That, by the way, if you want to look further into where we are on this longevity thing, the one of the main researchers is a guy named Craig Ventnor. He's the guy that was a major player in mapping the human genome, the DNA for humans. So he's if you want to look at that, and if you want to look on the psychology of kids in education, there's a professor at Stanford, Carol Dweck, DWECK, who has debunked the whole theory of IQ and so forth. And so she's really proven that there's no limit to what kids can do other than their own biases as to whether they think they can or don't. The
When
last
we
point,
when we integrate kids like with diverse abilities into regular classes instead of segregating them, it enhances the class and allows people to see that this person that can hardly speak has such incredible value and even insights
yeah.
when they can express it because they've been, in a way, pulled out to be able to be given the opportunity to.
Mhm.
People with diverse abilities have incredible
Yep.
abilities that most people don't know about.
One thing though we've had to recognize, learning is a very personal, individual thing, and you so we've got to have learning where you're learning stuff or you're learning, yeah, things basically, and there's others where you're learning how to interact with other people and how to socialize and so forth, and we have to do them both separately. AI it can help in both, but at some point you got to, if you want to swim, you got to get in the water. So at some point here, when we get into the socialization, we need to get the kids together, but the kids have to be sort of at the same level when you bring them together, which should not necessarily be age-based. It could relate in all other things. Last point, because we are approaching 3.25 hours, and so my wife has opened the door here about 4 times and wondering where I'm at. So the last thing here, there's been some experiments in Japan and particularly and in Australia most recently, and I read about them earlier in Scotland, I think it was in India, where they are now able to read the human mind. They're able to read brain waves. So just like we say, we can do text to image, right? So you write a little text and it creates an image. They're able to go and take brain waves and translate these into text or into images. And what they've done is they have these the ones in Australia, I think, is with like a cap they put on that has all these sensors around, and they're able to have somebody look at things of different colors and be able to interpret what color is a person looking at by interpreting their brain waves. There was an experiment a number of years ago that I read about between India and Scotland, where they had somebody in India uh, was looking at stuff, and then they captured the brain waves and they sent them and uploaded them into a person's brain in Scotland. And the person was able to detect what they were looking at. So they could detect it was an animal. They couldn't detect what kind of an animal or whatnot, but they were able to correctly say, oh, that person's looking at an animal. So this is expected to get better and better, so that probably within 5 to 10 years, we're going to have to figure out how you prevent people that just happen to be walking down the street next to you from reading your mind. Mm, yeah. uh,
That's
progress,
the nice thing
progress
is,
is not
is that we
always,
get to communicate.
Yeah, well, I mean, it can go great here, if you're with your family or whatnot, and you can communicate just by thinking. But when we talked earlier about the whole issue of privacy, and of course, what happens to privacy when you can't prevent people from reading your mind just because they are standing next to you? Anyway, I don't want to go further into that at this point because it's um, who knows? We still don't know enough about it to know how far they're going to be able to go. But we do know that with that chip, they're able to get a paraplegic to be able to drive their wheelchair and be able to type by just thinking of the letters that they want to type on a keyboard. It enables them to communicate. So people are able to communicate and they're able to travel. So, and Kurt is doing exactly what we need, is to signing us out here on today's session.
We get to be able to see the world as it is. It's all
Yes.
created by love.
Right. So I
And
want to
so we
thank
get to be able to say Zoom peace
Right.
and throw it out to the world, and it creates peace.
I want to thank everybody for sticking with us here. These sessions, I don't know what to say. It's hard because we have a nice recording now, and I think it's a very interesting recording, but I don't know how many people are going to watch three plus hours of recording. So, but I will get it up there on YouTube. It takes a little while to get these things converted and get up there, but we will do that. And thank you, Nijad, especially here because
Thank you.
perhaps we will put a little bit in the chat on the
group.
yeah, on the WhatsApp, so our colleagues can get a sense, because I'd like to get more involvement from other members of the fellowship
Yes.
involved
Absolutely.
here. So
Absolutely.
great.
It was a great,
Shalom,
thank you very
shalom.
much. It was great to meet all of you, and we'll, inshallah, continue to see you again.
Yes.
Inshallah.
God bless you.
Thank
Greetings
you.
from Bahrain.
Be well, everyone.
Salam,
Be
guys.
well.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace.